Are we not trying to bang a furry? Like, let's make it explicitly clear. That should be on the to-do list most days, right? Jeez. That music is very loud. Creepy swamp. Ivan, you're great. I'm going to turn you down a little bit. Thank you. Most days not? Oh. I mean, age-old question, are werewolves furry? Is a resounding yeah, obviously. Of course they are. It is kind of funny when that argument crops up in... I didn't build the chatting overlay, so if we do that, it'll say we're doing Chaos Wheel and we're not, so whatever. You just get to see this beginning of Chapter 2 again, while we do our opening spiel and say hi to everyone. Ask how we're going, that sort of thing. Check in with the community. Anyway, what was I talking about? The monster fuckers arguing that they're not furries is something that comes up in at least a few monster fucking groups that I think is pretty funny. Because that's just... wow. That's absolutely taking the desperate attempt to have an out-group that you can feel superior to. Like, oh no. I like succubi. And werewolves. Not anthropomorphic wolf people. It's completely different. What are you talking about? Oh, God. Not like those furries. It's not quite an art versus porn argument. It's this porn category versus this porn category, but one of them is more obviously queer accepting and more publicly supportive of inclusion and publicly exclusive of fascists. And therefore, they're made fun of more frequently for some reason. I think werewolves are furries. I think a large amount, though not all of monster fucking kink comes from eroticizing fear, because I feel like a lot of kink does anyway. But as someone who doesn't have that response, it always feels a little odd. And I don't have any particular exceptional attraction to non-humanoid monsters, even if they're not being dangerous. But yeah, see, that's the thing. I don't want to be topped by a werewolf. And a lot of art is absolutely like, even if I am a werewolf, furry mummy milkers, even if the subject of this art smart is in fact feminine and doesn't want, they're going to power dom you. Right? Right? And that's not a problem, of course. It just means there's less art where your monster is going to be submissive, or in some fashion. And if they are, I don't have any particular special kind of attraction to them. I'm just like, yeah, cool, that looks great, love it. On board. Right? Less common, and I also mean specifically visual media. I'm not delving into the huge pile of erotica novels and literature, especially fics. Because then you're going to get a real statistician involved and some amazing data scientist to try and figure out how you're going to categorize. You use tags, AO3's already got it. To identify like commonalities. What was I saying? Yeah, you have, Luxie. You might be doing this all night, who knows? So, back when hating furries was more popular than it is now, which is, jeez, but perhaps a decade ago, it required a kind of community policing and self-policing as well to adhere to the party line to say, I do not find this attractive in any way. It doesn't matter if it was like they'd add cat ears to a regular hot lady and say, "Ha, you're a furry now. Ah, now we get to make fun of you." And it required a community policing for people to say, no, I'm not a furry at all in any way. I don't find any of it attractive. And just polarize the positions into, yes, I am, I self-identify, I've got a persona. I like to imagine myself as a therianthrope of some sort. Compared to those who are disgusted, here's a crossover, explicitly hate all furry content and then treat it like heresy a la the Warhammer 40k tradition. I don't remember that. Long time ago. At least one weirdo is still creating anti-furry Warhammer 40k fan art. I'm like, it's 2024, man. You kidding me? Kind of thought we stopped doing this a decade ago. Now we hate e-girls because they're women, and the internet just hates women. Okay. Yeah, I agree, comrade. And it's kind of confusing because there should exist a large bit in the bell curve where people are like, whatever. Yeah, well, it's why many people hate furries now. Potentially envious because furries had working conventions. People turn up and share art and friendly with each other. Yeah, it's true. Just listen to listen to Jamie Loftus's excellent podcast, 16th Minute of Fame, about Coffee Wife. And that is a great example and the history of the internet hating women for literally no reason. So it's on my mind. God, I heart media. Terrible. God, Cool Zone media. So good. Probably about due for someone to do, in that media conglomerate, to do something awful so we're all disappointed. Mad at Duolingo again. Doesn't take much. Oh, anyway, that's the end of the working week for me too, because I have Thursday and Friday off to be a responsible parent. It's so much background, Luxie. It's just a creepy swamp. How's that for you? Any better? Is there sketchy that aligns to your own particular, like, is it sketchy praxis or is it actually sketchy shit? I still remember a Twitter thread. Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot that you were in my house. I still remember someone complaining on Twitter when Mercer included a very minor drug scene in episode 6 or so of campaign 2. Like, hugs, not drugs, Mercer. Kidding me? Look at that man. Look at that crew. Maybe, only one of them is not frequently high. Come on. Oh, no, I don't think. Yeah, I think he's telling the truth when he says that he is Portland sober, as in drinks and takes kratom. Ugh. Great phrase. All right. I'm going to read a book, or at least listen to me reading a book. I've got a big bottle of water. I've got my coffee. I'll note that I'm off this Sunday night. I have other plans, and they're going to be fun. You're going to have to entertain yourselves or tune into some sort of live stream where I'm going to earn a lot of money very quickly. This is a bit, by the way. Just making that explicitly clear. You all good, Emma Stitches? Okay. Always. The rage is in you, making you itch, making you hurt. It feels like there's wolf fur and dirty hair between your skin and your flesh, and every time you move, it slides and scratches around, and you just want to dig your claws into your skin and open it up and make the itching stop. A vegetarian cafe below street level, away from the freezing wind, serves you a hot bowl of lentil soup and some coffee, fuel for your work here. Surrounded by pre-Raphaelite prints and gilded frames, bookshelves heavy with modernist literature, and early morning students drinking smoothies and opening their laptops. All the trappings of a well-to-do college town, you count out your last few bills and dig around for change. The dead horseman's fortune in 20s has dwindled to less than $40. Before you can crush the enemies of Gaia, you need to consider the three necessities of modern life: food, shelter, and data. You also need to consider the wolf. The sort of urban, rural borderland sheltered by hills and rivers is perfect for Guru, and wolves don't react well to intruders. On the other hand, maybe someone here can tell you more about what happened. Also, I had to restart Chapter 2 because there was a very large patch that stopped people's saves from falling apart, and that means we've gone back in time a little bit, so we need no use starving to death before I learn anything. I need a job and a place to stay, maybe even a nice place around normal people. You pay for your breakfast and grab an abandoned breakfast burrito on your way out, eating as you walk down the cold street. Normally you'd never bother to wear out shoe leather on a job hunt since no one gets jobs that way anymore, but you also have an investigation to conduct and you've learned to follow your nose. Since you don't have a phone, a laptop, or much time, you can't spend all day on Indeed trawling the job listings. You need to get up in someone's face without scaring them to death. The downtown area has a mini mall with a bookstore, some fad diet food markets and restaurants, and lots of vaguely exotic knick-knack shops. You hit every single one and no one is hiring. Not get out, you creep, not hiring, just fully loaded with college students and underemployed graduates desperate for paying work. But an entire morning spent talking with retail clerks, baristas, and tired postdocs gives you a few leads on where to find work. For werewolf jobs are a question of balancing your rage with the demands of employment. Customer-facing work means you'll have to keep your rage in check, but even if you work stocking cans, you need to hold it together around bosses and co-workers. You also need a job with flexible hours, of course, and people who are willing to ignore lots of weird shit, and you don't have a car. This won't be easy. Alright, we're going to take the same one we had before. We're going to repair bicycles. You start by hitting 2 computer repair places. One isn't hiring. You strike up a good conversation with the tech at the other place, but she wants more details and references than you can provide. You keep that place in mind, wondering if you can cook up some fake references, and then try to local garages. Unsurprisingly, they want long, brutal hours, and you're not here to work. You're here in your professional capacity as a werewolf. You doubt they'd understand, so garages are out. You're staring at a retro electronics store, wondering what an Atari is and how it is used, when the store's big window reflects a bike with fat tires pushing through the snow. Curious, you follow the cyclist to a small house he mistook for a psychic's because of the neon hand glowing in the window. Cramped interior is full of bikes and bike parts decorated with astrological paraphernalia. Takes you a while to find the store's name, Epicycle Bikes. Hey dude, the owner says. Dude? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're going to take the Epicycle Bikes. We're going to jump forward a little bit, just remind ourselves. But I don't want to get bogged down too much on what we were doing. You step outside into the burbs and hesitate, and turn right around and follow your tracks back inside the bike garage. Hey again, dude, the owner says. You seem straining, trying to remember where he saw you before. Was it Burning Man in 2004? Maybe Woodstock 99? No, it was 30 seconds ago. He obviously has no idea who you are, so you reintroduce yourself, and he hires you on the spot. Epicycle is more than half garage, and your new employer shows you the workshop, the storage shed, the kitchenette, you help yourself to a vegan brownie, and a cramped front office. Epicycle occupies the house off the main drag, but 2 customers come in while you get the tour. This place does good business, even if no one wants their palm read or their fortune told. Since you're not a mechanic, your job is to free the owner up to make repairs by handling all the ordering and logistics that he doesn't have time for. Epicycle uses a proprietary inventory management system called Areopagite, which that might be the single worst design piece of software you've ever used. And the pay is terrible, but the hours are flexible. As long as you can turn a job around in 48 hours, the owner is happy. You receive 2 more tarot card readings, the moon never appears, and a palm reading before the owner finally gives you his name, Udolfo Plotinius, and he tells you to show up tomorrow, around 9ish. Even as you've looked for a job, you've kept your eyes open for places to sleep. No one you've spoken to has offered you a place to crash for the night, and you still haven't found any other werewolves. So it's time for shelter. You've been in scarier towns than this one, but you know how fast shelters fill up when it's cold, and you know that sometimes the staff can be worse than the residents. You adopt a suitably humble and deferential posture, but not one so listless that you look like you're nodding and tranquilized and approach the interfaith cot shelter you saw earlier today. It's located in a building that looks like a Greek temple, currently wrapped in orange construction netting. Downstairs, a half-disassembled stair lift for wheelchairs, a woman sits on her phone behind a desk. She tells you to be quiet when you ask her if this is the shelter. Finally, the woman finishes whatever she's doing and says this is the overflow shelter, pronouncing each syllable in overflow like you've never heard the concept before. You need to go to the main shelter on Aldrich and check there first. Where's that, you ask? There's a plastic holder for brochures on the desk and another bolted to the wall, but they're both empty. Oh my god, she pulls up Google Maps on her phone. Aldrich. You barely get to look at the street before she yanks her phone back and sends you on your way. It's a long hike along unshoveled sidewalks to Aldrich Street. The lack of streetlights makes it hard to find your way. But after a few false starts and a car blasting with freezing slush, you reach your destination. The Aldrich Street shelter is a big Italianate house pushed back from the street and gone to seed, and a regular black heap against the purple sky. You open the main door and step into a stinking, brightly lit room full of restless bodies. "Close the fucking door!" a ruddy-faced man yells before you finish opening it. You close the door and spot a thin, middle-aged white guy in an oatmeal sweater talking to an old and agitated black woman. The facility director points to a tablet in his hands, and the woman storms past you, furious, and stands in the doorway, glaring as if daring someone to make eye contact. "We're full up," the director tells you, not looking at from his tablet. "Try Center Street." "You're really full?" I'm willing to walk back, since, looking around, I can make it, and a lot of the people here can't. "Yes," the director says, "we're really full. There's no way to ask that question that makes a cot show up here," and wiggles a tablet under your nose. "As I already explained, the Center Street still has cots available. Just fill out the forms here and bring them to Marie." "Marie?" you ask. "It should be obvious from context that I'm discussing the care director at Center Street," he says. He peels a form off a nearby table and hands it to you. "Better do as he says, girl," a scowling woman at the door says, "or you'll end up at Langton." "Langton? I would discourage you from staying there," director says, not really paying attention. "Violence and theft are endemic. A facility is not affiliated with our network." "But they got cots," the woman says. She leaves in a blast of cold air. "Close the door!" What's this form look like? Let's skim it. Pay attention, fill out the form. Anyway, Mike's got a spot. You dream that you cannot cry, and that when the tears come, they are hair, and the hair droops down your face, burning your eyes. And then when you stumble blind into the kitchen and take scissors to cut the hair away, the hair is full of nerve endings, and the pain is blinding, and blood spills from the filaments of hair tumbling out of your eyes. As if compelled, you keep cutting and keep weeping, and the hair keeps growing endlessly, blinding and agonizing. I should remember that freaking out Loxy before, so enjoy that again. Another fight wakes you up early. You shake off the scratchy blanket. You're dragooned into serving scrambled eggs, but the work earns you scrambled eggs, so you can't complain. They throw you out the moment you're done washing dishes. You tighten your dress and step out into the ice wind. The first day at work is mostly orientation. The good news is that Adolfo wants you working the morning shift with him for your first week here. It's a lot to learn, but it means you'll have the afternoons free to explore the town. You need to find other Guru and make formal introductions. Sign of respect, after all. There are certain courtesies expected of even of a cub, and it's better to make contact with the local werewolves on your own terms than to stumble into them. Who knows what tribes even dwell out here? Tradition dictates that you perform the howl of introduction. Scarpa taught you the howl, and how important it was for a Galliard to greet other werewolves boldly and with eloquence. If you prefer to be more discreet, you could look for glyphs. Some Guru mark their territory with a unique system of signs and scratches. Scarpa taught you the glyphs along with the primal tongue. With enough patience, you might be able to track the marks and symbols to a cairn, a place of spiritual power sacred to the Guru or some other werewolf community. But glyphs are old-fashioned, and not all Guru bother with them anymore. A smart young werewolf could go online and search for evidence of Guru. Anything from news articles about animal attacks to deliberate hints and riddles left by urban wolves to help facilitate contact. Also, many city wolves move along an urban population's indigent and criminal communities. If you're able to stay cool around them, they might help you. Let's change into lupus form and chant the howl of introduction. Hills surround Northampton, but you don't want to head into the woods, especially if no one lives out there. Instead, you pull yourself up onto a fire escape and make your way to the roof of the Hotel Northampton. Shielded from view and from the worst of the biting wind, you strip, wrapping everything you own in your new dress, and then let your rage wash over you. The transformation is smooth, the agony of breaking bones sweet, the agony of healing flesh sweeter still. Shifting into your lupus form used to leave you spiritually exhausted, but now it's almost as easy as becoming a human again. The cold is nothing now. You climb on 4 clawed feet to the highest point on the roof and howl. Though you belong to no tribe, you sing the notes of the Galliard auspice with flawless precision, and then describe Clay's pack, howling into existence the fields and roads of northern New York, Scarpa's garage, and Blacktarn's garden. Finally, you add a note of urgent warning. Something came from here, you sing. Something dark and unclean. Silence, except for the cars below and a barking dog out in the suburbs. But then, not a wolf's howl, but a guitar. The song bounces off the low, slate-grey clouds and reverberates over the roof. Is it another howl? An answer? You think it is, but it's so complex that you can only catch hints of meaning. Or perhaps you're just imagining things. Doors of white stone and green hills, dreams of peace and war, labyrinthine wetlands defiled by the worm. Then the tone shifts, becoming high and piercing like a dagger thrust into a map. Your sensitive ears triangulate its location, a building not far from here. Then the song fades. You've made contact. A very human smile spreads across your lupine face and keeps spreading until you've regained your homid form. You dressed hastily and hurry to the location that the song offered you, the parking lot of a building labeled GRC Media. It's fucking cool, right? GRC Media Group is located in a glossy new building in a boxy and metallic gentrification chic style, across the street from a garage junkyard ringed with concertina wire. You circle the building to make sure security isn't heavy. Nothing. The door swishes silently as you approach, silently closed as you take in the tasteful atrium, the minimalist decor. The Formica table holds brochures and engraved business cards. The one that says Daphne Clear, Chief of Operations, catches your eye because there's a faint raised design on it. It's Spider, patron spirit of the Glasswalkers tribe. Seems awfully bold to advertise oneself so clearly, but it's woven so subtly into the pattern that only a guru would notice. Can I help you? The secretary in a purple fleece is sitting at a white plastic desk beneath a huge flat-screen monitor that's cycling through nature scenes. Her tone and expression say that it's some kind of bum, possibly a drug addict, wandered into her tasteful atrium. Good afternoon. I'm here to see Ms. Clear. No reason to be rude or to waste time. And do you have an appointment? The secretary says. Is there a problem here? A guy shouts, a little too loud. He comes from an office farther down the carpeted corridor, all red face and fists. Not a security officer, just a big guy in a too small button-down shirt. What's his problem? If you don't have an appointment, the secretary says, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. He glares at you until he meets your gaze. You're not even trying to be threatening, but a half second of eye contact makes him flinch like you slapped him. You feel your rage rising to the surface, but you're still in enough control to decide whether or not to push it. I didn't mean to say red piss. It won't be easy, but I should be able to persuade them to let me pass. I'm here to see Ms. Clear about a job, you say. We're not hiring, the secretary says. No, I mean a job she'll do for us, you say. The big guy just laughs. Get out of here, honey, he says, like you're a streetwalker. I'm really afraid that you're going to have to leave, the secretary says, a brittle and frightened smile on her face. You're not getting anywhere here, and people are starting to poke their heads out of offices. Too many people for you to make a scene. As they leave, you hear the big guy explaining to the secretary. Yeah, they come up from the bark trail, or whatever. They panhandle here, and then they go back down to buy drugs. Starting to get cold, you're getting frustrated. You're missing something that will tell you exactly what's going on in this town. You can't figure out what it is. You patrol up and down the streets, eyes scanning faces, glancing up at windows. When you see a narrow covered alley, you cut through it toward a parking lot. A man is waiting for you in the shadows. You've come a long way just to die here. The alley is so dark that even your sensitive eyes take a moment to adjust. The man standing in front of the stained bricks is a few years older than you, with a dark, serious face and short black hair. He's dressed in tattered but elegant clothes, a black frock coat with mismatched buttons, polished black boots, and a dark, frayed V-neck sweater. Leather gloves protrude from the breast pocket of the coat. The young man has the air of a scholar, especially with a leather-bound quarto clutched in his hand, but his knuckles are crisscrossed with pale scars. Though he looks dangerous, he makes no move to attack. My name is Elton Day. Miss Clear told me you had come. We've made friends with this person before. Let's do it again. I think this guy's one of us, so I should keep this formal. I am Morgan of Clay's Pack in northern New York. A Bane attacked us and I tracked it here. Been a while since I got any respect, Elton says with a cold laugh. He's not local, he sounds British. Not a Cambridge lad, despite the air of bookish and genteel poverty. That glottal stop swallowing out the back half of bin hints at working class origins. Now I remember us complaining about the glottal stop not being appropriate, given that's supposed to be a between two T's. But hey, I'm Elton Day of the Shadow Lords. I used to be more, but now I'm not. Step inside and you can tell me about how you came to this miserable place. He steps past you to a narrow door and takes out an elaborate brass key. Why do you smell like a dog that's learned to smoke? Wait. Comrade, I thought you were yelling at me to say, why are you dressed like a Dracula? We've got the opportunity to go back in time and make a slightly different change, so we could do that. I do think why do you smell like a dog that's learned to smoke is pretty funny. Because I'm a Theurge, Elton says, opening the outer door. I'm not entirely destitute, unlike you. The real question is why you're dressed up like my grand's wallpaper. I don't think he had too much of a response. The stairs from the street to Elton's apartment are narrow and steep. The urge to walk hand over foot is almost overwhelming. And though it's only late afternoon, there's no light except from a crooked witch window at your back. A stairs bow in the middle, as if 1,000 years of monks have climbed these steps, though the building can't be more than 2 centuries old. In the darkness, Elton inserts the key again without hesitation, turns it easily, and then puts his shoulder into the warped wood of the ancient door until it pops open. You step into a living room full of books and immediately bang your knee on a coffee table covered in heaps of printouts. Books are everywhere, at every level, noticeably at wolf level in several places. The smell is books and dust and old rugs and brass and pewter, old cigarette smoke burned into the walls, and black coffee. You see the cups left everywhere, balanced in the oddest places, and heavy dinners not always cleaned up right away. You pick your way past iron candle holders covered in melted wax, plates decorated with blue pastoral scenes stained red and black, fat leather-bound notebooks full of handwritten scroll, and nearly bang your head on a low candelabra strung with electric lights. Sit wherever. Elton says, sweeping his hand across a dozen surfaces, none suitable for sitting. So, I've never actually been to a high tea. Where do I put my doily? High tea actually refers to tea taken as an evening meal at what you call a supper table is not synonymous with high class. So I'm not getting these little sandwiches. I can reheat half a Thai burrito. Elton offers, if I can find it. Why don't you tell me what drove you out of upstate New York? I want to talk about let's talk about the Shadow Lord Theurge about Stormcat, huh? Nah, fuck it. Place to stay. Honestly, the first thing I need is a place to stay. Let's talk sofas, bathtubs, whatever Elton can offer. You're kidding? Elton says the moment he realizes your story of adventure is turning to a story of woe. You shrug. Wolf's gonna eat and sleep. Do you have a job? The Shadow Lord asks. Epicycle bikes, you say. You don't waste time. The Shadow Lord says. He disappears into the kitchen for a moment and comes back with a business card that reads Al Gaultier Realty. The card has contact information from Mr. Gaultier, and on the back, an unusually fancy penmanship, a Garou glyph that you don't recognize. I'm doing you a favor, the Shadow Lord says. If you show him that card, Mr. Gaultier will permit you to stay in one of his units starting immediately, as long as you have a job. Now, tell me about what brought you here. Stormcat. You describe your prep work for hunting the Bane, the fight itself, and the horrible aftermath of Clay's appetite for horseflesh. But only when you talk about Black Tarn and the Stormcat does Elton set his teacup down and steeple his fingers. That's interesting. Is that a bad link? Or are we assuming that most of the options lead to the same place and he only ever cares about the Stormcat? Or if I selected how we kick the Bane's ass, he'd be more interested in hunting the Bane. Because that's interesting. I like that. I know the Stormcat. She and the Falcon Adores were Garden Spirits that guarded Archaean. I thought she died. Could be the illusion of choice, or he looks momentarily pained. I wonder if the Stormcat actually thought you could help Clay. Is that even what you want? Clay was a shit, and I plan to stop whatever infection is coming out of this town before it spreads. Big plans for a little cub, Elton says. Trying to stop something that destroyed dozens of werewolves and defiled an entire Kayan. You get that, right? Clay told you what happened here, didn't he? Were you there? Because I checked the records and I don't think Daphne Clear, I tried speaking to her too. I don't think she arrived after what happened here. Daphne Clear wasn't originally one of us, Elton says. Her husband, Linus Araman, was one of our Silver Fangs, though. Actually, ex-husband, they were split up by then. It doesn't matter now that he's dead, I guess. She owns an environmental news and media company, but mostly she watches the thing in the woods, the thing that turned our Kaon into a nightmare. And to a lesser extent, she deals with her mind problems that better data manipulation can solve. People talking about weird dog attacks, that kind of thing. I don't have many good things to say about glasswalkers, but they're good researchers. Daphne told me about you maybe 10 minutes after you got into town, actually. But it's not like she can do anything against the answering tiger. The answering tiger, you ask? What's that? The spirit? A bane? Of what use and names, the Shadow Lord says. A final night. God, it was only 3 years ago. It feels like 1,000. We realized too late that we'd already lost. The tiger had led us believe our own propaganda. That's all the tiger was. All the tiger is. A lie shaped like what you want to believe. So we lied to ourselves and it came to us and blinded us. We turned on each other. Shadow Lord against Silver Fang. You, human against Garou. Family against family. The answering tiger has servants, of course. Banes like the one you battled. Fomori, werewolves swarmed to the worm, but the weapon it used to strike us down was us. What more could be said? A gust of icy wind rattles the windows. Your hands are cold. Glance down and see you've drunk all the tea. The Shadow Lord sips his tea and looks out the window. Now, it's getting late. I've neglected my studies. I may have lost Broadbrook and quite a lot more, but I still have my library. It's consolation. Broadbrook, you ask? Achaean, Elton says. Errol's sacred site, and more than that, Broadbrook sprawled across hundreds of acres and sheltered the Garou and 3 families here for generations, and in life and in death. I haven't been there since the others died. He meets your eyes, and for a second you think he's going to offer to join you in exploring the site. But then Eltrin just lapses into brooding silence. You rise, careful not to knock any books to the ground. I respect your determination, Elton says, rising. Call that number I gave you. And for what it's worth, I hope the spirit's a guy will watch over you. He follows you back down the tall, narrow steps and then closes the downstairs door, leaving you alone in a wind-blown parking lot from across the covered alley. The temperature plunges, but you've made plans this time. You retrieve some free newspapers, cut through a garden that hasn't been touched in decades, hop a chain-link fence, and approach an abandoned ranch house, across from a boarded-up daycare. Despite previous signs of occupancy, no one has squatted here for weeks. Dig around under the porch, retrieve some dry wood, and kick out a board, crawl inside, and use the newspapers to start a small fire. The air is smoky and the fire doesn't offer much warmth, but you're able to curl up in your stained fleece and get a few hours of sleep. Burn it! Burn it! Burn it! I ate all your bees. You dream of the tribes. What if the bone gnawers reject you? What if after beholding their patron spirit you find yourself spiritually incompatible with them? Who else might you join? Yeah. Glasswalkers, the future techno shamans and corporate raiders. The world has changed again. Changed and changed again. The Glasswalkers began as the waters of apes in the days of the earliest cities. Then they were the city warders and the Iron Riders, hunters on land and sea. When the cities rose and rose to blot out the moon, they became the Glasswalkers, and now they hunt boardrooms and chat rooms, making alliances with the machine spirits of the Weaver to fight the all-consuming annihilation represented by the Wyrm. But they're not all corporate raiders and cyber geeks. The fair trade coffee place that has the best roast in town, the recording studio that pits spiritual yearning and technical mastery against soulless corporate tunes. Some of those have places too. Some of those places too have glasswalkers watching over them, watched in turn by their patient and pitiless spirit, Spider. That the tribes don't understand, of course. Isn't the Weaver an enemy too? Hasn't she strangled the natural world and her webs for turning forest into tract housing, filling the sea with styrofoam and microplastics? Didn't she turn the limitless potential of cyberspace into a corporate panopticon in less than a generation? Maybe. But the Guru must fight a war in a terrain they have. Not the terrain they want, and that terrain belongs to the Weaver. Next morning dawns cold and bright. You feel half frozen and three-quarters dead, but at least you woke up. However, this cold is so bone deep that you can't even rely on your werewolf regeneration to heal you. First day of work, that's more than orientation. You spend the morning at Epicycle learning the ins and outs of the inventory ordering and tracking system. This is complicated by the fact that Udolpho obviously does not understand the system and cannot admit it. But you're eventually able to decipher Areopagite, even though you can't figure out what the acronym stands for, or why an inventory system needs to have a Gnostic theme. You should do okay here. Adolfo is pleased enough that you convince him to order some food from the Greek place up the street. Place to stay. It's time to put a roof over your head. And these guys suck, so we're going to go through pretty quickly. There you go. Day's getting lighter, but the sky's slate grey. I'm his fiancée. We're looking for a honeymoon hovel, and this looks perfect. Where's the heat, you ask? Seems like a pertinent question in New England in February. Girl, I'll keep you warm, one of the sons says. He winks at you and the other pushes him. We're working on it, but look, these old houses need heat. Listen, you whiny bitch. Yeah, let's go. Blow past the Gaultier and look for a way to fix this problem. Saying getting fixed today. We're going to use the mechanical problem, see if we can figure it out. I think we fucked it up last time. Yeah, we fucked it up again. Oh well. Break up to 3 bones. Yeah, that probably would have been better. Brace the rage. Oh well. Yep. That dog sure can fart. Okay. Up early for epicycle. 6 hours in the garage sorting different kinds of screws. Boring, but at least you're warm and have pastries to eat. Rodolfo criticizes the finesse with which you handle and sort screws, but otherwise seems to tolerate you. A warm place to sleep for the night means your bones aren't aching anymore. Let's investigate the actual location of Broadbrook. You don't want to head into the winter woods blind, so the first thing you do is head to the nearest library. Forbes Library is a sprawling Romanesque building, a 19th century castle located on a hill across from Smith College. Cast iron railings flank a manicured walkway now dusted with snow that takes you inside. The interior is spacious, quiet, and cool but not cold. Once you have a library card, a brief self-tour familiarizes you with the circulation desk, the freely available computers, and the media library. The nearest bend of Broadbrook itself is north of the library, but the forest around it stretches miles and miles to the north and west, not ending until somewhere in Canada when the trees give way to tundra, probably. There are parts of that forest that have never seen the people of the map. You're sure, miles of land still ruled by North America's oldest spirits. You could conduct your initial research here from the comfort of the circulation desk or a library computer. Both physical and online maps might reveal evidence of a settlement, which will let you head towards the cairn. But not everything is online. Instead of poking around on the computer, you could head out early and scout on foot. Patience and survival training would help you turn up evidence of previous occupation. Alternatively, a guru leaves spiritual evidence of their presence, and though you don't know any guru rights to sniff out occult energy, you might be able to rely on your spiritual awareness and attunement to find something interesting. I'm smart enough to use physical maps to figure out where to go before I head into the woods. Gary would have hidden the Broadbrook cairn from satellite observation. That's just part of life as a modern werewolf. Even professional cartographers and hunters might miss the signs. But you know what to look for. Clearings and distinct irregular shapes for moots and challenges. Woods reshaped and pruned instead of cleared. And other signs of long-term intelligent occupation from creatures that don't think like regular humans. There, in a black and white satellite photo, a clearing with 3 trees of different species in the center, and there, bare stone where the elevation would seem to favor tree cover. Barely noticeable, but there it is. You're sure of it. But you can't just sit around here all day turning the pages of geographic survey booklets. Daylight is burning. You photocopy the most useful maps, relace your boots, and hitchhike up to the Veterans Hospital. From there, you head into the woods around Broadbrook. You immediately know that you're on the right track. By mid-afternoon, you've spotted 3 faded garuglyphs and located a clearing with a central throne-like tree stump, a meeting place for wolves and spirits if you've ever seen one. Your mood only darkens when a shift in the wind carries the faint smell of death, strong even in winter. You follow the smell to an abandoned ATV half buried in a snowdrift. A leather glove lies nearby, its back covered in a design you don't recognize. Some kind of crowned dragon in the sun? Almost certainly not Guru. When you turn it over, you realize there's still a hand in it. You hastily back away. Looking around, you find a stick, kick some snow off it, and use that to turn it over and conduct a quick search. Nearby, a 38 revolver, rusted beyond hope of repair, a bronze sword so thick with verdigris that it looks like moss, and a wallet. The wallet has $7, 2 gas cards, and a card from Beniki Gunworks, right here in Northampton, Massachusetts. That might be worth checking out. The wallet also has a Forbes library card with a name. Harmony Pals. Pallies. You suspect Elton will want to know about this. This battle happened at least a few years ago, but you're still able to follow the signs of fighting to the edge of a swamp, where a terrible battle raged. There isn't much of value, though. You find bullet casings, broken blades, a Red Sox hat. It's probably more under the snow or lost in the cold water. The most interesting find is a saddle that looks exactly like the one Bane wore. the one that Bane wore. It's burned and blackened, but when you turn it over, you can read J.L. Heaney, Maker, Hadley, M.A. You've seen Hadley on maps. It's just a few miles away. You're going to need to investigate this J.L. Heaney. The background that it has swapped to also. Let's turn it red. I don't want a red background, so we're going to do that. You head down slope and find yourself standing over a half-frozen bog. A maze of tiny islands and hillocks surrounded by a gale black water. A badly defaced standing stone rises crookedly out of the mud. The air is warm with rot. Flies rise up from the muck to seek your eyes and nostrils. That place is important, you're sure of it, but how? Maybe more investigation will offer answers. You turn away from the marsh and head back into the woods. The sun has set and it's bitterly cold and windy by the time you reach the Veterans Hospital. You warm up in the garden centre before the bus comes. Your cabin is near a little airfield and you can hear the prop planes landing late into the night. Who the hell is flying 20th century planes this late? The cold seeps through the boards and you get up a few times to add more logs to the fire. Day 3 of gainful employment. Fistfight breaks out over different kinds of brakes, or maybe the little clip Spike use as part of their brakes. You're not sure, but while Udolpho seems like a flake, you both work to make sure no one calls the cops. After that is more inventory. Your injuries have partially healed. Jeez, I want to learn anything more about Harmony Pallies. Head back to Forbes Library and hop on a computer. Harmony Pallies graduated Berkshire Regional High School in 2013. Her sister, Melody, graduated in 2016. A few pictures, both girls tall and pretty with curly hair. Harmony's cropped short, Melody's unfashionably long. A picture of both interning at the studio of Lucinda Pallies-Nash. Nash, a local neo-surrealist artist. A single death notice in the Berkshire Eagle for Harmony. Nothing of Melody. Startling lack of records for two women only a little older than you, and what you find has apparently been tampered with. Facebook and Tumblr text replaced with random excerpts from old novels or irrelevant newspaper articles. Someone has erased pictures too. You have more luck with Lucinda Pallies-Nash. What the fuck? Come on, man. Lucinda Pallies-Nash. A moderately successful local artist inspired by Leonora Carrington and Remedios Varo, according to her website. She has a studio in town. Her website says that she's touring art museums in Mexico for the next few weeks. She's interesting, though. If your other leads don't pan out, you might risk emailing her. All that took less than an hour. I still have some time before the sun sets. My research is Heaney figure. You walk back to Forbes Library and try various combinations of Heaney, Leather, Northampton, Broadbrook, and so on. It doesn't take you long to find the man, Jasper Lee Heaney, saddlemaker and leatherworker, formerly of Hadley, Massachusetts. Checking the map, his old address is less than a half-hour's drive east of here, over the Connecticut River. Few equestrian websites mention him, and his name also appears on a Leather Daddy forums. Old posts from the mid-2000s praise his skill and professionalism at constructing fetish wear. Online news articles indicate that Jasper Heaney died 4 years ago and that his house burned down last year, but details are scarce. You might have to cross the river to Hadley to learn more. Make a fire and go to sleep. Areopagite receives an update that plays havoc with the inventory management system and forces you to rebuild multiple Excel spreadsheets to make sure no data gets lost. You barely know anything about computers, but Udolpho refuses to have anything to do with them, so it's up to you. Your injuries have completely healed. Cool. Let's go to the gunworks. I go to Biniki Gunworks. Biniki Gunworks is, or was, nestled into the woods west of the town centre. That's an hour's walk along Route 66, but since the day isn't too cold, you like to range through fields and farmland. Oh. Areopagite. Better? Hopefully, right? That will let you avoid casual observation. Let you avoid casual observation while gaining greater familiarity with the area. You don't see any more Garou glyphs or any signs that you've left the map, but as you trundle through the woods, you suddenly come upon a chain link fence. Troubling. You circle around the fence to the north, cutting through muddy fields until you're back under tree cover and then return to the road. Gun store is a low concrete bunker that might have started life as an auto garage. It's closed, locked down, and shuttered. A few minutes spent exploring the cold mud and cracked asphalt around the store reveal only broken, rusted tools and a few shell casings. You can see a few ways inside. The combination lock is of excellent quality and you have no idea how to open it, but the chain it's attached to looks rusted. Might be able to bash it open. Or you could try propping up in the garage door or wiggling in through a window. The main problem is road traffic. You've kept out of sight so far, but a driver might notice you screwing around. Intact lock means that someone watches this place, and you don't want someone calling the cops. Near human form, break it. Examine the garage door. How exactly could I open it? You're no expert on mechanics, but you recognize this kind of rolling overhead fire door from Scarpa's garage. You could probably get it open enough to roll under it if you had the right tools. You don't have the right tools, or even the wrong tool, like a car jack. What you do have is a bunch of broken junk scattered around a deserted parking lot. You might be able to cobble something together, but it takes some technical knowledge. I change into my lupus form. It'll be easier to wiggle through a window if I'm a little smaller. I remember someone, perhaps even you, comrade, looked it up. Areopagite? Guy. Areopagite? No. But I've forgotten entirely. Let's change into wolf form. It'll be easier to wiggle through a window if I'm just a little smaller. Hiding from road traffic on the far side of the concrete building, you strip, bundle everything into your dress, and leave it next to the garage door. One of the windows is already cleanly broken, but it faces the road, so you'll have to move fast. It's less cold than your first day here, but your feet are sinking into the cold mud, so you hurriedly climb onto the roof, and you lie down and transform. An agonizing moment of dislocation as your veins and capillaries expand and rewire themselves around a quadrupedal body plan. It's the pelvis. That's where it always gets tricky, but your blood starts flowing the right way again. Your tongue lolls as you rise on all fours. From the roof, you wiggle to the window, but while your lupine form runs and jumps better than your human self, climbing is tricky, and you find yourself struggling to crawl through the window. You finally get your front end inside, but then you end up stuck half in and half out. After a great deal of undignified kicking and wriggling, are you able to drop into the building. You're in, but you're not going to be able to do much as a wolf. So you slowly regain your hermit form and rise, steam rising from your skin. And you cross to the rolling garage door and open it just enough for you to retrieve your gear. You put your clothes back on and stamp your feet in the freezing cold storage room. I like that. I think that's really funny. Great deal of undignified kicking and wriggling. That's Marvel getting stuck in a doggy door, which happens frequently to the poor thing. Steamed up windows let enough midday sun to reveal the gun store's empty metal shelves and wooden counters. You weren't really hoping to find an arsenal here, but this place looks stripped bare. And from the jewel pods and condoms on the floor, you weren't the first person to go exploring. The store isn't big, and it takes you less than 15 minutes to sweep the showroom, the garage and storage room, and the back office. Your haul, 3 losing scratch tickets from 2017, a few damp pages from American Handgunner magazine, and a key that unlocks the office desk. Empty. At first, you think the metal desk is bolted to the wall, but when you try to pull the key back out of the drawer, the desk slides with a hideous shriek across the concrete floor, and a field notes notebook plops onto the ground to land in a puddle of icy water. You pick it up even as the water soaks into the pages, making the ink run, and open to a random page. What we had to do, I will not call him a traitor, as he acted out of love for his art and the 3 families who guarded this land long before your birth, and will guard it long after you're dead. The man you call Mr. Heaney was more than my friend. He was a poet with leather and flesh that you should come to regard. There's more, including what appears to be a map of Broad Brook, but then you hear crunching outside. Vehicle tires on asphalt. You hop up onto the desk and peer through one of the high windows. Outside, An NPD police cruiser. 2 cops are getting out. When you glance down at the page again, nothing remains but wet streaks. You shove the field notes in your dress. You hurry into the garage storage room. You hear the police banging around at the front door. No time to waste. You push the garage door up 18 inches, roll under it, and sprint for the woods. The cops shout and pursue, but they're never able to get a line of sight on you as you bolt into the trees. In minutes, you disappeared into the deep woods. Curious and annoyed, you start to head back to that barbed wire fence. A bit of scouting reveals that it's a jail. No wonder you drew heat so quickly. Once you're sure you're clear, you take out the field notes. Water has obliterated most of the writing, but you do find something interesting in the middle of the book. It looks like some kind of glyph or doodle. Jagged, labyrinthine lines cover most of the page, but then you suddenly realize what you're looking at. One humped shape is a standing stone. It is, in fact, the standing stone you remember seeing at Broad Brook. And that arch is a large hillock. It's a map. And those jagged black lines reveal every patch of mud and water. You could use this. But then you think back to the marshlands of Broad Brook. Hundreds of acres of freezing black water and tangled trees. What good is a map without a destination? You're sure that there's something out there in the wetlands, perhaps even the source of the Bane, but wandering around out there won't get you anywhere, even with a map. You need a specific destination. But once you have it, a map will be vital. You make a fire and go to sleep. Adolfo expounds on his theories of the universe as you try to concentrate on figuring out why the bike place up in Florence is so much more successful. You're pretty sure the answer is that the owners are rich retirees from Boston and are flooding it with cash, but Adolfo wants an answer that is more harmonic. You mostly try to ignore him and concentrate on inventory. Daphne Clear and GRC Media. Just turning your thoughts to Daphne Clear makes it feel as if you're being watched. The Shadow Lord? Or something worse? Though your former packmates feared the Shadow Lords, Elton was helpful, especially about Daphne Clear, but you want to form your own opinion. After reading the brochures you took from GRC Media, you see several avenues of investigation. Internet research might reveal more about Ms. Clear's operations in town, though you doubt passive research will tell you what you need. You'd have to get online and talk to people. You'd have to be clever to not draw attention. But maybe it's smarter to go low-tech against a glass walker. Archival research at the library might yield physical records, though that'll take patience. We could hit the streets and investigate. A cool and friendly attitude will encourage people to talk, and then, here's the trick, stop talking once you're gone. Back to the library, dig through physical records. Glass walkers can erase digital records, but console jockeys have a bad habit of ignoring printouts and analog photographs. Increasingly, libraries don't even bother with physical record keeping. It takes up space they don't have and requires expert maintenance, which costs money. This actually helps. Forbes Library has an entire storage room devoted to recent newspapers and magazines that they desperately need to scan or trash. Disorganized and neglected, this room contains physical newspapers as well as tech, media, and environmentalist magazines that may tell you more about GLC Media. You learn basic details from archives magazines. Daphne Clear is in her mid-40s and got a computer science degree from the Georgia Institute of Technology. Previous work in publishing, environmental research, comms. From newspaper records, married to a Linus Harriman and then separated. Harriman died 3 years ago. That mysterious death piques your interests. You've been reading for so long that you're starting to lose focus, so instead you let your gaze wander as you flip through physical records, looking at pictures and diagrams, waiting for something to catch your eye. And then it does. You stare at the picture attached to an article from the Daily Hampshire Gazette, the local newspaper. Fight over development, deal turns violent. The text of the article, including the byline, has been replaced with a completely different article from the Carter administration. There's that randomizing trick again in print. But the picture is labeled Linus Harriman, Elton Day, 19, and Catherine Aslanian, 20. Have opposed the Broadbrook expansion, which would... Sorry, I didn't read Linus Harriman's name, 46. And then it turns into more randomized babble. The photo is in color. The newspaper may be 5 or 10 years old. Linus, a middle-aged white man, faded leather jacket and torn jeans. Elton, a young black man in a long black coat. And Catherine, blonde and Hollywood pretty, with big cornflower blue eyes and a long blue dress. Local woodlands behind the trio, but something is off. That hill, for example, looks like a... barrow? This is good. This is what you need. So you confirm that Elton has been here for a while, and you remember a previous mention of Catherine's last name, Aslanian. You flip back and find another gibberish article that contains only the phrase, as Lenny purchased the Main Street apartment that was formerly the site of the words, and everything else has been randomized filled from, you think, a Dickens novel? There's a picture of Elton's apartment. You make a fire and go to sleep. 1 full week at Epicycle. When do you get paid? You spend all morning on the phone with suppliers and forget to ask. Would you like to go to Heaney? Go to Heaney. Go to Heaney. Go to Hadley? Go to Hadley. Go to Hadley. Anyway, let's go to Hadley. Wonder if food is cheaper across the river, since Heaney's my only lead. It's the way I go. No buses run to that part of Hadley. In fact, your destination is so deep in the woods that you're not even sure you can hitchhike up there, but it's all the way across the Connecticut River, too far to walk. Could you borrow a bike from Adolfo? When you mention your frustrations to a groundkeeper you've seen before at the park bus stop, he mentions that Smith College students have been visiting Hadley to conduct genealogical research. You run for the college and spot a van just about to roll into Elm Street traffic. You flag it down and confirm its destination. 7 students and the driver glare at you like a beggar just wandered into their solarium and flopped down on the fating couch. But no one says anything. That's funny. I like that. That's great. Just get on. We're going to Hadley? Let's go. Couldn't be me. Upset and or annoy that many people? Oh, no. Okay. Remember how a little while ago it gave us 3... It's actually happened twice in this little while. It gave us three options that point towards the same outcome. That's not bad writing. That's not even bad writing when it happens on the tabletop, when your players are like, I don't know what to do. I don't think there's anything wrong with a role-playing game where you lay out a series of options or scenarios or scenes, and then your players go through them, sometimes in the exact same order, some in an order you dictate, and sometimes in an order they pick and choose. It's not a failure of a game if it doesn't... It doesn't have to resemble an open, wide map with just names written on the map for your players, for it not to be railroading. Sometimes, especially with games that like appear at Fenno or things that are written, adventure paths, that sort of thing, the game happens in how it rolls out. You know? Hamlet's still a work of art. Even if it plays out nearly exactly the same every time you see it. I don't think it's a sim. It's probably best to make it clear that that's the kind of thing you're going for when the players jump on, right? If you're playing through an adventure path, you will experience most of the things that are written in the book. They will be edited and changed. In the end, unless you all decide you're not doing a thing entirely, we're going to be playing through Strength of Thousands. TM. I just think that's important to mention. Important to remember. I don't know. I'm more likely to give this the benefit of the doubt because I enjoy it and the author so much, so... Yeah, see, I disagree. I don't think it's a copy error. I actually think that that's just how it's phrased. Maybe that's just because it matches my internal narrative. As the shuttle rolls through town, you notice a Massachusetts State Police cruiser following you through traffic. You've been desperate enough for a long time that you know... Can we not do this again, folks? Essentially, this happened last time I read this as well. A bead of sweat slides down your temple despite the cold air. You wipe it away, leaving a dirty streak you can see as you watch your own reflection in the window. It's the Shadow Lord. Elton may have connections with the local police. Maybe once you learn more here, you can ask him. You're dimly aware of the shuttle taking the bridge across the Connecticut River and turning north, then heading through frozen fields and past a restaurant. It stops outside a dilapidated whitewashed wooden building in a federal style, apparently condemned. Nothing remains of the baseball field next door except a twisted fence beside overflowing dumpsters. The students make for a postcard-perfect New England church up the street. According to your maps, J.I. Henley's workshop is less than a mile away. And indeed, after 10 minutes of walking, you pass a mid-century truck half buried in snow and then find yourself in front of a blackened ruin. House burned down to its foundations. Someone needs to update their maps. You examine the house, but nothing remains except a few scorched bricks where a chimney once stood, but there's an old wooden barn nearby. You're considering where to explore when something moves in a tree line on the far side of an empty field. Maybe something has followed your shuttle across the river, or maybe a local is getting ready to dome you with his grandfather's rifle if you take one step onto his property. I'm not afraid of beans or bullets. Ready to change if I have to. I walk into the field towards whatever it is. You walk calmly out onto the barren field. There's definitely something out there, but as you feel your rage ready to course through you, the sense of being watched fades. You walk to the tree line looking for evidence of a watcher, but you can't find any tracks in the snow or mud. You wasted enough time. You head into the barn, moving systematically now that the presence is gone. An hour passes in meticulous and fruitless investigation. The barn doesn't look like it was ever a workshop. That must have burned. Nevertheless, you climb a rickety ladder up into the cold, slimy filth of the rafters. It's dark enough inside that you need to flick on your lighter. You drag a soggy hay bale away from a window, letting pale sunlight in. You resume your search until you spot a wet gleam. You reach out, hands clumsy in your gloves, and pull something white and sharp out of wood so soft it's the consistency of cornbread. The photo. Badly stained, but you can still make out two smiling, sunburned white men in each other's arms. Judging from their physiques and hairlines, they're probably in their mid-20s, but their full beards make them look older. The back says P-Town 92. Another step in your boot cracks through a board. You stuff the photo in your dress, drop back down onto the ground, and scan the tree line again. Nothing out there, but the midday sky is dark, almost black. A storm is coming. You think back to the buildings that might provide both shelter and information. You don't want those smithies at the church asking questions about you, but you could conduct research at the town offices or ask around at that restaurant the shuttle passed. Even if you don't learn anything, it's better than being caught out in the open when a storm breaks or enduring the wet, stinking warmth of the barn. Though, maybe you could stay. Something is definitely out there. You could hide in that old truck within sight of the barn and see what comes out of the woods. Check out that truck. Could I hide in there and wait for whatever it is in the woods? The truck is a rusted heap with wooden seats and a missing windshield, but it gives you a good view of the woods and the entire surrounding farm, and the coming darkness will hide you completely. There's an old, but newer than the truck, grey tarp in the back. A bit of skill in hiding and skulking would let you position the tarp so it doesn't draw attention, while keeping the precipitation off and letting you see out. The main problem is the cold. You'd have to be tough as old wood to sit through the cold drizzle long enough for something to appear, even with the tarp in place. The clouds darken and the wind gusts. You smell something on the air. It's out there, whatever it is. Consider how to approach people at the restaurant. You see two approaches at the restaurant. First, you could just sort of casually mention Mr. Heaney's leatherwork and see if anyone talks. That won't draw much attention, which is good, but it'll take a long time. Alternatively, you could try conducting a more active investigation, which would take a certain easy-like ability to get along with the locals. A sort of thing that rage makes difficult. Consider what the town officers might offer. First, they'll offer shelter from this storm, since the main building looks open. Second, there may be information about Heaney and the fire, something that would reveal how he fits into everything you still don't understand. But you won't know more about the records there unless you go. I'm leaning towards go to the town office and look through the records. But if someone wants to shout out something different, you've got 30 seconds or so to type in really quickly. Continue doing the nerd thing. Freezing rain starts to fall as you approach the municipal building. It's bitterly cold, so you hurry up and slip into the decaying building just as the rain really starts to come down. You ain't the APS, you ain't the UPS man. You turn to confront a fat woman in drab coveralls who looks more like a janitor than a town clerk. A single watery bulb illuminates her desk and computer. The rest of the building is dark. I'm doing some research on the town, you say. Probably assuming that you're just another student, she hooks her thumb back into the darkness and returns to her computer. You head into the darkness as the storm howls outside. The good news is that the power works and you can turn on a light. All other elements of the situation are bad. Entire back half of this building is crammed floor to ceiling with cardboard boxes full of newspapers and town records, as well as records from a half dozen nearby towns and villages. This building must serve as a central depot for all the records within 50 miles that no one wants anymore. The boxes are numbered, but not with any system you recognize. Through a screen door, you can see a box labeled Organization Notes 92519. You're sure that that box is a kind of card catalogue, but the door is locked and the clerk doesn't have the key. She also doesn't seem to like you much. Going through all the records until you find something unheedy will be mind-numbing, but it's possible, especially if you're smart enough to find a pattern in the listings. You could try enlisting the clerk's help, but you'd have to be charming enough to pull her away from the true crime podcast she's listening to. Or you could, well, jimmy the door and grab the organization notes. That's probably criminal trespass, but it'd save hours of work. We've got more stamina than I thought. And we are average intelligence. I thought we were smarter, but we've got the academics, so... Crime time! I work systematically from top to bottom looking for a pattern that will lead me to a record of Heaney's fate. Stamina is handy! Weirdly enough, we could have used that for lying under the top. I thought we were playing a big nerd werewolf. Clearly we are. Just also good at jogging. You start with the nearest box. Marriage records, 1928 to 1941. No. Land transfers, 1886 to 1956. No. And so on, through births, deaths, letters to the editor, disability benefits. Should you be allowed to go through this stuff? Always looking for any name you recognize. After hours, you can barely read marriage records 1890 to 1927, but marriage records. Was Heaney married? Assuming one of the men in that P-Town photos is Heaney, and assuming they were a couple, he could not have gotten married in Massachusetts before 2003 when gay marriage became legal. You find marriage records 1998 to 2017, and though there's no Heaney marriage, there's a record of him, David Benicki, and Lucinda Pallis Nash, to a wedding of Elton Day and Catherine Aslanian in 2015, and a subsequent building purchase in Northampton. Palace. Oh god, that's much easier. That's much easier. So many names. But there's Benicki again, with a note that he was involved in land transfers in the mid-2000s. You go back to land grant records, 2003 to 2008, and find one Mr. David Benicki involved in a sale of land right next to the Heaney place here in Hadley. Then you follow the real estate lawyer's name to a newspaper article in the Berkshire Eagle. This is interesting. The headline is Gun Store Draws Protest, but the byline and everything else has been turned into the Declaration of Independence. That's a new variation of the same old trick. The picture shows the same couple as the photo you recovered in the Heaney barn, many years older and looking more like business partners than boyfriends. The photo caption isn't scrambled. It mentions Benicki Gunworks moving from Hadley to the address on Route 66 that you just visited. Hours have gone by in research. When you look up, a man is standing between two cardboard boxes. Young, but with a prematurely lined face of someone who spends a lot of time outdoors, his short beard and hard, dark eyes. He's too young to be one of the men in the P-Town photograph. You can tell by the way he carries himself that he wears a sidearm under his Carhartt coat. "My name is Hoblin Nash," he says, "and I know what you are." I'm the girl who hasn't had lunch yet. Got $5? Isn't it funny that you have all this power, and I guess glory, and monsieur live out in the woods like coy dogs? The man says. Me, I got a house and a Visa card, so I don't carry cash like I used to. Sorry. How many more of us are there around here? You ask. You all died, kid. The man says. Killed yourselves. You been up to Broad Brook? I can smell the dead up there. Someone needs to give them a proper burial. That's where it happened, he says. But it's not over. You saw something in the woods out near Jasper's old farm, didn't you? He used to work for them, so some people had to get rid of him because he was working for them. Do you understand? You try to think of a question because you really don't understand, but he just talks faster and faster. That's when things really started getting out of control, he says. And it's still happening. You've smelled the corpse smell, haven't you? Carried by the wind. You've heard the drone of flies. You had to cut them just the right way to get the flies to come. Shit, I should have killed them all the way when I had the chance. Now you think you get what he's talking about. The bad meat Clay ate. The flies that swarmed around the Bane, the flies at Broad Brook, and the field notes that you found at Beniki Gunworks. Those strange scribbles are a map that would let you navigate the swamp and follow the flies to... To what? You have to find out. The clerk up front drops her coke and swears. I get the hell out of this town while you still can, kid, Hoblin says. He disappears deeper into the stacks. When you look outside, his jeep is rolling out of the parking lot. It's dark when you leave the municipal building, and the sky is still cloudy. A dreadful feeling of being watched as you trudge through the muck of abandoned baseball field next to the municipal building. The church down the street is a black spire in the growing darkness. Students hurry out of it back to the shuttle. You thought you had more time, but the students are already leaving, and you don't want to be stuck in this town when the light fades. You hurriedly join them, and the shuttle carries you back across the Connecticut River to North End. You return to your cabin, make the fire, and sleep. You check Areopagite. Areopagite. I could do that. It's worse. To learn when you get paid. Looks like the payment cycles have gotten out of sync with the Gregorian calendar since the program's creation, since it uses a complex system of interlocking circles to track dates, since it never fixed the Y2K bug. You have no idea how any of this stuff works, but you think you might get paid every 2 weeks. Spend a few minutes lost in thought as you get up and make the bed. You have everything you need to return to Broad Brook and nothing else slowing you down or distracting you. It's time. You scrape together all your remaining cash and go searching for a breakfast place. But most are crowded and your nerves are on edge. You find an obscure little nook named Byzance, owned by a plump and eccentric Turkish woman with rings on every finger. The shop looks seedy and chintzy, like she stole the decor from an Arabian Nights-themed go-go club, but the baklava is peerless. Since you actually have a choice in the matter now, you start the day off drinking coffee. Interlocking rings of crickets. How do you want it, sugar? The Turkish woman who runs the place asks. I mean, sugar is in an affectionate term, just not you must have sugar. Just sugar. Unsurprisingly, Byzance also serves Turkish coffee, but you end up with a giant mug of American-style Joe. Just the way you asked for it. Looks like the freezer-burned generic coffee Clay always drank, but tastes wonderful. When you pay and get up, the owner gives you a doggy bag full of yesterday's pastries. You walk due north, cutting through streets and parks, heedless of how the people of the map navigate their environment, until you pass along the edge of a Walmart parking lot and reach the woods. A day is cold and blustery, and the wind bitter. Cold mist hangs over the grim marshland around Broad Brook. The defaced standing stone rises over the mud as you check out the field notes again and get your bearings. Then you head down the hill, between two hillocks of dread yellow grass, into the marsh. You move cautiously, so it's over an hour before you notice how warm it's getting, so warm that you're sweating under your dress. Unhealthy-looking flowers bloom and wrist-thick vines sprawl and writhe like odalisques in the vegetal heat. As you climb onto a low, wide hill covered in pale green grass, you checked David Binnicky's notebook. Climbing the gentle grassy slope, you pass more standing stones, all defaced or toppled, before you notice an odd indentation in the center of the hill. It's a door. And beyond that door lived a hobbit. All around you, grey-brown marshlands of venomously iridescent jungle, and straight ahead an open double door of white stone and a low hill like a barrow, covered in reddish grass. The air is warm and heavy. Flies drone as they head into or out of the doorway like bees around a hive. You follow the flies, and curiosity warring with the warnings sounding in your mind as you pass the threshold. The hot air reeks of carrion, piss, and chemical preservatives. Garou glyphs mark the walls at irregular intervals. You recognize death, peace, and a design for friendship, which always looks like a falling bomb to you. Among the more complex ideograms, those defaced beyond legibility. Beyond legibility. The corridor is less than 10 feet long, and then you emerge into a central circular tomb. Did it again. Black Tarn told you about these places. You'd never seen a tomb like this one, but you know this place has been worse than abandoned. It's been defiled. Bones crunch underfoot as you fully enter the tomb. As you enter the tomb. When you step to one side, the midday light streams past you and reflects off a beaten copper mirror in the far side of the room. Niches in the wall hint at generations of interment, and you see tools or weapons scattered among the bones. Between you and the mirror rises an oval catafalque of chipped stone. A corpse in stained linen lies on the catafalque, and just beyond it is a huge hulking figure, more than twice your size and wearing only a belt hung with jangling steel tools, curled lovingly around the corpse. Steel-tipped fingers caress the linen-draped chest. Leathery lips touch the corpse's skull, hot breath faintly stirring scraps of grey hair. I didn't think there were any of you left, the leathery creature says, its voice a bellows wheeze. Flies blow out of the asymmetric black mouth. Who and what are you? I'm here for answers. Whoa! Achievement! What's ever ahead? Avoid ambush. Jeez, okay. I'm nothing. A man who tried to make things right. It didn't work. And the dead man, you ask? You've heard that the dead can speak, but this swollen monstrosity still lives. Alive, but infected. Unless you miss your guess, this is a Fomor, a human whose malice and cruelty opened him up to bane possession. The Fomor rises. He's tall enough to scrape the domed ceiling. His hand lingers on the dead man's skeletal fingers. His hands, his arms, his chest, parts of his face are covered in blades, hooks, and other tools. You've been investigating Jasper Heaney for long enough that you recognize leatherworking tools. Is this the man himself? Do you know what they'd said? What your people said? The Fomor wheezes. Spittle drools from his slash mouth down to his chest. Old stains mark him from jaws down to crotch, a damp slash sticky with flies. They said I collaborated with the worm, that I made weapons for the enemy. I was a weapon maker. I sold guns, but they didn't care. They didn't care that I was from the oldest of the 3 families. We have served this land before them, and when they came, we served them. Good little servants. He leans down again, touches the corpse's face. Scraps of beard still remain on the dead man's gaunt cheeks. It was Jasper who deceived them, who claimed he sold the weapons. So they killed him. They tortured him and they killed him because he loved me so much. He was willing to die for me. A weapon maker. This is David Benicki, or what's left of him. And now you're what, some kind of leather monster? Shouldn't you be a gun monster since you're a gunsmith?
You don't understand anything, Binnicky wheezes. I did the job the Guru assigned me. That's all we were ever allowed to do. Everyone in the three families, we tried to restrain them, tried to guide them, but they didn't care. I ran an honest store because that's what I was told to do. And when the Guru didn't like everyone I sold to, they tried to have me killed. Hypocrites! They never cared, only the answering tiger understood. He taught me how to bring Jasper back.
He shifts, trying to conceal something in the darkness of the tomb. Tomb. Amid the pale gleam of steel leatherworking oars and the fiery reflection of the copper mirror, you catch the cold white radiance of a silver scalpel. It looks like a pin in his swollen leathery hand, but you know it could kill you. Even in your supernatural forms, you can't regenerate runes from silver, and right now you're just a regular human, unarmed, and as vulnerable to conventional violence as anyone else. Though some of the tools or ceremonial weapons scattered around the gravesite look heavy enough to split Binnicky's hide. The answering tiger, is he the Bane spirit you compacted with to resurrect Heaney? I need more information if I'm going to beat this thing.
The Guru must be almost extinct, Binnicky says, if they've sent a pup who doesn't know anything about the world. The dead don't come back, girl, I know that. I didn't enter into this agreement out of insane grief. I bring Jasper into the world by perfecting his work. Jasper Lihini was the greatest worker in leather and flesh that the world has ever known, and the Guru treated him like a slave and then killed him like a dog. He lives now through my mastery of his art, through my creations which I have spread far and wide. But I come here whenever I have time to love Jasper my own way.
The Fomor leans over the corpse and places his huge crooked lips against the dead man's mouth. He parts the teeth and draws out the purple tongue, kissing passionately, then bites messily through it. And he lunges and spits, hitting you in the face with the corpse tongue. As you stumble back, the silver scalpel whistles through the air towards your neck. I stay calm, grab the dead guy, and use him for cover, daring Binnicky to smash his boyfriend. Not my proudest moment, but I can't fight in this crammed space. If you survive to write your memoirs, you probably won't include this. You grab Jasper Heaney's corpse just as Binnicky lunges for you with his scalpel, and the Fomor hesitates, wheezing. But his hatred of Guru seems to outweigh his love of the man whose tongue he just bit off. Binnicky roars and knocks the corpse out of your hands, then bull rushes you, driving you all the way out through the doorway into daylight. The two of you tumble down the slope, punching and slashing. Your blows are mostly useless, but his silver scalpel rips open your flank, blinding you with pain. Silver may not burn in your homeward form, but getting stabbed hurts like hell as a frail human. You both slam into a standing stone and fly apart, Binnicky landing in the mud and you skidding along the reddish grass until you stop, bleeding and dazed among a tangle of vines. You regain your feet, clutching your side as blood pours from an unhealing wound. This can't go on, you know. You're a Guru and you feel your rage rising as you confront the servant of the worm. You need to destroy this horror before he destroys you or spreads his spiritual pestilence even further. Easier said than done, especially when you can hear something approaching quickly through the wetlands. Ally or enemy you can't tell, but it's moving fast. Binnicky lumbers towards you across a grassy slope, silver scalpel gleaming in one hand, the other holds a tangle of steel hooks and spikes. I need my rage to beat this Fomor. I change. The Fomor knows the Guru and how quickly they heal. He rushes you, but you have the advantage of maneuverability on this slope. Even as you get some distance, you change into your... Hispo, Titan wolf form. I round on Binnicky and crush him in my powerful jaws. You snarl and leap at the Fomor. Beniki settles into a defensive posture, silver scalpel flickering. You leap over the scalpel and land on his chest, hook your claws into his shoulders and bite away half his face, ripping away glistening strands of meat and chunky wads of leathery skin. Half blinded, Beniki grabs you with both hands and wrenches you away, then slams you onto your flank. You scramble back onto all fours just as the Fomor lunges with his silver scalpel. You sink your fangs into his wrist and bite the hand off. But Beniki drives his left-hand hook into your neck and slams you to the turf. You thrash and kick, ripping your way free even as blood spills down the blue-grey fur of your chest. The Fomor and you both sway, blood burbling at your mouths. He struggles to rise, and he turns, bloody mouth open in stupid surprise. Both look as a black shape appears upslope. Then, with a snarl of rage, the newcomer hurls himself upon the Fomor. Horribly wounded, already dying, the Fomor doesn't have a chance. Burning with rage in his Krenos war form, the other werewolf rips Beniki to shreds and scatters his twitching, steaming remains across the grassy hill. Cool beans. And it's time for a break. Back in 15. Don't worry, I'm back. Okay, so what do we have? Very quiet background music. Ivan, what have you done? That'll do. I have made a cocktail. It's Campari, gin, tonic, and a splash of apricot flavored bourbon. No, apricot flavored schnapps. Apricot bourbon? No. Anyway, now we've said this werewolf long enough. Let's keep going, shall we? The other guru stands up. You recognize him by smell, the spicy tang of incense smoke and old vellum mingled with a man's natural scent. His fur is inky black and iridescent like an oil slick or a butterfly's wing. You've never seen anything like it. Elton, you say, pronouncing the name as well as you can in the first tongue, which you haven't really mastered. His eyes burn with mad rage as blood and gore trickles down his jaw, and you step away from the Shadow Lord. But then Elton shakes his head and the killing lust leaves his eyes, replaced by the sad, sardonic expression he wore in his apartment. He steps into a patch of deep, cool water, and when he emerges, it's in his homeward form, his tightly coiled hair dripping, his dark face free of gore. His long fingers twitch and shadows glide across the water, wrapping around him as he rises, settling around his shoulders as a mantle, and then encircling him in a long robe of velvety shadow. Should probably say something, so that's enough of this form. I formally acknowledge his victory, but then how in Guy's name did you find me? I saw David skulking around the rooftops in town. That's his name, David Benicki. The theurge points at the largest remaining piece. Once I realized it was him, I remembered to mess with him and Jasper Aney. Some of it unfolded here. Speaking of that, now that the adrenaline and rage are cooling, you can see more harrows and graves like the one you entered, and you hear a rhythmic mechanical hammering. The air reeks and it's full of flies. Elton's eyes show recognition and pain as he studies the place. He's been here before, and he seems willing to wait for you to decide what to do next. Before I say anything, I start to heal. In the Glabro form you're in now, as well as the two other supernatural forms, the dire wolf, Hispo, the Kreenus war form, you can focus your spiritual energy and quickly heal from energies. However, wounds caused by silver fire or certain attacks that specifically target mortal creatures, such as the fangs of another werewolf, disrupt your ability to regenerate. A night's rest is usually necessary. Let's not regenerate. His music is once again distracting. No matter how appropriate it is, called Blood on Wolf's Teeth. Anyway, I keep hearing about the three families. What are they? Human allies of the Guru? Three human families moved here almost 200 years ago with the first wave of Polish immigrants to the area. The Benickis, Palaces, and the Lubasics. Maliki Palace was a Silver Fang and a Casimir Lubasic, a human sorcerer. The interactions spawned an entire philosophy that came to define the local Guru, who freely mixed Casimir's Catholic heresies and Malachi's Jewish mysticism with the more traditional spiritual beliefs you're no doubt familiar with. If you came here 10 years ago and listened to the Silver Fangs, you'd learn that the three families gave the local Guru a continuity of tradition and access to human resources that let them thrive in the battle against the Wyrm. That was all rot. The three families were manipulators, proud beyond their station, who believed they could dictate terms to Gaia's champions. Sometimes useful, yes, but they turned on us in the end. My tribe, the Shadow Lords, we were right to doubt them. But it was a hard way to be proven right in the end. He shakes his head then, if not entirely convinced of the Shadow Lord position. Then he starts to say more, but the mechanical rumble echoes across the water, and he scowls, as if offended that anything would interrupt an incipient lecture. You and Elton follow the hammering sound and the rancid smell circling around the barrow until you look down upon what David Benicki had been doing. You instinctively cover your mouth. A snarl rises from Elton's throat. First, here's the source of the noise. A crude dam of cement and piled stones, supported by a cage of rebar. Water flows through the dam in three sections. The waters flow as it hammers into the cement and turns some kind of plastic turbine and produces a racket. It's also why the landscape is flooded in this particular way. Second, the smell. How could anyone do this? Elton says, momentarily overwhelmed. Even though as a guru, he knows exactly what drives humans to do things like this. He stumbles back, choking on the caustic reek as he wades with the muck closer to the cages where David Binnicky kept the horses. 8 animals are in the broad pool formed by the dam, chest deep in filthy, muddy water that stinks of rotten meat. Crude plastic binders hold them in place as flies swarm over them. All are blind, their eyes eaten away. Blood drools down their mouths into the foul water. 5 more horses are dead and half skeletonized, their bones pink in the pale moonlight. When the wind shifts, the still living animals sense your presence and start to scream, as if they're being burned alive. Crude shacks served as David Binnicky's workrooms for whatever he was doing to the horses. Your rage momentarily blinds you, or maybe it's not blindness, maybe it's ecstatic clarity. You know what you have to do. You know what Gaia blessed you with rage and wisdom to do. I'm going to take notes, and then you're going to destroy things when we're done. I take out the field notes and turn my education towards understanding this dreadful operation. You retrieve David Binnicky's old notebook from its plastic baggie and pull out a pen as Elton heads for a tool shed. The first thing you do is record the damage done to the horses. You work one animal at a time. Elton, who possesses an extensive knowledge of anatomy, adds to your already considerable notes just before he takes a sledgehammer to each horse. He dies screaming and yanking in the harnesses as if they still want to leave even though they're so infected they're almost dead already. Then you approach the dam. The sound rattles your teeth and makes your eyeballs jiggle in their sockets, but you sketch the dam itself, then make a few guesses about its operation. Though impressive, the dam is crudely built. Elton uses bolt cutters to snip the wire frame holding the stones in place, and then you both use the long iron poles to break the dam apart. Once the stones are out of place, the two of you hurry back to the old barrow. After a few minutes, the hammering sound grows irregular, like a dying man's heartbeat, and the concrete shatters and water blasts out across the wetlands, carrying with it the fragments of plastic and pieces of crude machinery. The water level drops below the shattered dam, leaving dead horses hanging upright like crucified thieves in their dirty plastic harnesses. After wading into a patch of fresh water to wash off the filth, the two of you sit for a while in the grass. Elton's eyes are red-rimmed. Probably don't look any better. Exhausted after so much work, you shift back into your normal homeward form. After a few minutes, he rises and says, "The barrow." You're not done yet. The Theurge leads you back to the white doorway. Once back in the barrow, you and he help return some of the bones to their niches. Elton unceremoniously tosses Jasper Haney's corpse out of the barrow for the ravens. You straighten the copper mirror. It appears to be a Garou artifact of some kind because you don't think the indigenous humans would have worked metal like this before the European conquest. Then the two of you head back outside. The air already feels cooler, though the sun is not yet setting. My packmate Clay is still sick from the poison that David Binnicky put in those poor horses. What can we do? I'm going to come back tomorrow and take samples of the dead animals, Elton says. I don't know what David was planning or what kind of banes he was able to conjure into those horses, but I'll be able to learn something. It was also a man, you add. A soldier mounted on the horse I fought. Interesting, the Theurge says. I've heard strange reports of strange riders from Nin. Where's that? Nin, no, she's one of us, Elton says. Or she was. She suffered worse than most when the Kaon fell. Suffered worse than the dead. She lost a wolf, and I don't mean just for a while. For good, it seems like. Last time a band came through town, she mentioned strange horsemen in the woods, mounted on creatures that I now understand to be these horses. Nin lost the wolf? To lose the wolf is an occasional indignity the Garous suffer. Too much shape-shifting, regeneration, or crawling on spirit allies can exhaust a werewolf's spirit and leave her unable to transform or call upon gifts. But the sight of the rising moon or the howls of one's packmates can bring a Garou back around before she sinks too far into a human side. But to really lose the wolf... Permanently. You've never heard of that. Whatever they did to Nin after the cairn fell, Elton says, rising stiffly, it burned the rage right out of her. She plays in a metal band now, touring around New England. She still keeps one ear open for trouble, though. Maybe she knows more about those horsemen. For that matter, maybe Melody and Podge knew something. Melody is crazy, of course, and I haven't heard from Podge in 2 years, but we could... His eyes brightened for a moment, as if he plans to jump in a car and pull an all-night road trip to track the 3 of them down. Then he slumps and shakes his head. This place is cursed and stinks of death, the Shadow Lord says. Let's fill a backpack with whatever we find here and head back to my ends. Once we're there, we can... He trails off, so you rise and search an outbuilding more accessible now that the dam is gone. Among the metalworking equipment, you find an extra pair of boots that fit. The same model of ruggedized tablet that the horseman carried. Also destroyed, this time by frozen mud. And what's this? Another one of those lances. It looks exactly like the one the rider carried. You return to Elton's flat a half hour after sunset. And both freezing because you managed to find every puddle of cold mud on the way out, despite using a lance as a walking stick, and Elton because he's barefoot and appears to be wearing only shadows. Once back up the narrow steps to the Shadow Lord's cluttered and dingy home, Elton gets you into his bathroom and runs the water in his clawfoot tub. Posters for old trip-hop shows in Bristol and London line the walls. My dad, he says absently, gesturing to the dark face on one poster that's drawn your attention. Wasn't there a Jordan Day track in a movie you saw as a kid, like The Matrix or that American Godzilla? He peels off your paisley dress and examines his scalpel wound with a clinical eye. If you were human, you would have already bled out, he observes. In 10 minutes, you're disinfected, bandaged, and numb from a combination of fentanyl and scotch. Then he steps outside with the door open a crack and interrogates you about your journey as you wash yourself with a towel, mostly to make sure you don't pass out. When you've scraped off the blood and mud, you spend a few minutes drying off. When you look up, you find the world's oldest pair of pajamas waiting for you. They're more patched than original fabric, but they're clean, and so are the mismatched Turkish slippers, one green and one taupe. Took everything that survived to the laundromat, Elton says. He's seated in his leather armchair in the corner of a room previously covered by faded burgundy tapestry. A fire roars in an elaborate Art Nouveau fireplace under an oil painting. Life-size and in a realistic 18th century style that depicts an ethereal, beautiful woman with dark eyes and a dress the colour of storm-tossed seas. Curling golden ringlets frame a face with delicate features and an alarmingly high and broad forehead. A pale ring glints on one finger, lovingly rendered as her hand rests against a high-backed chair. She appears to be seated outside since a milky way is visible behind her, forming strange patterns. Elton seems fixated on the image, the lance forgotten at his side. Who's the babe? My dead wife, Elton says. Ah, you say. It always feels strange to call myself a widower, the Theurge says. Catherine died defending the cairn like so many others. Before she died, she was one of the greatest Theurges of her generation, a true prodigy. The spirits are silent now that she's gone. Most of the world is just dust. He follows the starfield with his eyes, then looks down into the fire. Kate told me a story once about the Milky Way. Long ago, during a winter worse than any winter in history, the god of fire stole straw from a greedy king. As he fled, bits of straw escaped from his bag and they scattered across the sky, forming the Milky Way. What we see then exists as it really is, and also exists as a remembrance for an act of mercy. It's the same thing, but two ways of understanding it. Wait. You know a god of fire? Can I get him to heat that shitty cabin I'm renting? Use your rage to stay warm, Elton says. An insecure place to stay out of the goodness of my heart. A Shadow Lord, I think selfishly. Will wonders never cease? I think the Stormcat sent you here for a reason, Elton continues. I think that you're here to find answers. No one really understands what happened to the Broadbrook Cairn, but I was completely in the dark, jailed for my doubts. Well, almost everyone else died fighting. What is the answering, Tiger? Why have we done nothing since it happened? We live like ghosts and it can't go on, Morgan. I'm going to talk to this other guru, learn more about how David Benicky created those monsters, figure out what this thing is. He picks up the lance, and even see if we can help you pack mate, but first. We'll use our occult training to analyze the horse flesh and find a cure for clay. No, Elton says. First we have dinner. When was the last time you ate? Disappears down to the street and returns with a perfectly spherical burrito for you and another for him. Try not to tear the burrito apart like a raccoon. It's hard because you haven't had many proper meals lately. You eat in silence for a few minutes, looking around at Elton's collection of occult statuary. A jade kiln, scattered medallions and candle holders in brass or bronze, a bust of Athena in white marble with African features, and a helm of what you hope isn't silver. Bookshelves hide Flemish tapestries and Japanese inkwash paintings, and plush velvet curtains frame the windows. Tomorrow afternoon, Elton says as he retrieves a dusty bottle of wine. You need to... Do you want some? I actually like that tea. Give me 5, he says. He immediately goes to work on the tea while sipping wine from the bottle and soon presents you with a steaming cup. He looks around for a wine glass and then just retrieves another teacup and pours his wine in there. What was he saying? The Shadow Lord asks. Tomorrow afternoon. Right, tomorrow. I'm going to investigate the barrow and see how close I can get to the actual KN. Contact me in the afternoon and I'll fill you in. You exchange plans for a few more minutes, but when you finish your tea, Elton clearly wants you gone. As you rise, the Shadow Lord says, hold up. He digs through a kitchen drawer. He tosses you an iPhone. Here, keep this. Cool, free stuff. I'm not proud. Does it still work? Should, Elton says. It's reset the factory defaults, but worked fine until I upgraded to the new one. Take it so we can keep in touch. Free stuff is always nice. You pocket it, and the charger. Next, you really try to fight off the bread and a little jar of artisanal jam, but Elton is like an Italian grandmother, and he absolutely won't let you leave until you have something for breakfast tomorrow. You still can't tell if he's reeling you in with gifts or if he really doesn't like seeing you so poor, but by the time you're back outside, it's almost midnight and bitterly cold. Your side throbs as you shuffle back to your freezing gambrel and immediately get a fire going. Then you plug your phone in to charge and fall asleep the moment you pull your boots off. You've already accomplished so much, but you've only defeated one Bane and fought a foe more. You need to reach the cairn itself, not just the barrows, and face whatever lurks there. Your brain rattles over names even as you try to sleep. Elton, Daphne, Nin, Melody, Podge, until you finally fall into a deep dream. In it, Elton holds one of those threaded paper circles with a bird on one side and a cage on the other. He spins the paper circle so that the bird appears trapped in the cage. Then the bird hurls itself free of its prison, heedless of fragile and snapping bones. The cage breaks, the bird is out, it flies away, spilling blood across the skyline of Northampton, and trees burst out of the foundations, shattering buildings and flinging people high into the air. Morning. You check your wounds. They're healing cleanly. You change the dressings even though you don't really need to worry about infections as a werewolf. And then you check your new phone. A single message from Scarpa, only a subject. He's dead, Clay's dead, you blew it, you fucked up everything. Well, shit. I don't want Guru business going out onto the internet. I don't answer. Glass walkers like Daphne Clear and bone gnawers like Scarpa always seem confident that they can avoid notice on the internet, but you're not so sure. You maintain radio silence for now. You need to set yourself up to receive text, so you spend a few minutes configuring all your passwords. Then you use one of your old handles. Menacing Earthworks. You can only assume that Elton knows his phone's number, but you realize too late that you don't know his. To your irritation, Elton isn't home even after you hike all the way into town. You wanted answers, maybe another burrito. Instead, you head to Epicycle and spend most of the day managing inventory. When Adolfo heads out, you ask him to pick up some lunch for the two of us, and subsequently Cat eat 3/4 of the Indian food. Cat, look, I'm sorry. The screen I'm reading it off is quite small. Yeah, about the same size as my phone. I was going to pick up some lunch for the two of us and subsequently eat 3/4 of the Indian food he brings back. Elton sends a text late in the afternoon. Bride's Head Reloaded. You, Epicycle Bike Shop? I work there. Wait there. He arrives an hour after close wearing a tattered black parka, his hair streaked with dried blood. Catherine's pale ring flashes in the fluorescent light on his thumb. Did the meat fight back?
No, but those soldiers did.
Soldiers? Exactly how much trouble did you get up to, you ask?
They were like the one you described attacking you in upstate New York, Elton says. I drove them off, but we need a Silverfang or a Peter Skog to reconsecrate that place to Gaia and keep them away for good.
Did you learn anything, you ask?
With David Bennicky dead and his workshops destroyed, that won't be any more of these horses, Elton says. I found another one of those lances too. He was making them, but I have no idea why. I don't think they're weapons.
Nin, Podge, or Melody? Melody. But didn't you say Melody was a Silver Fang? She can finish what we started in Sanctified Barrow.
If we can reason with her. If we can find her. She's in Ashfield, about a half hour north of...
You both get a text. Is Daphne clear? Quest folder. 180 IQ. Elton, you have left a trail that a blind Chihuahua could follow. Cease all activities. Elton spends several minutes thumbing in a response, angrily writing and then deleting. Finally settles on no. An immediate response from Ms. Clear. The men you two killed were Brian Lannery, USAF, killed by Morgan in New York State, and Doug Nguyen, a Holyoke police officer, killed by Elton yesterday. Electrocuted. Those were citizens.
I shouldn't have used 11 bolts. She's got me there.
Elton can shoot lightning. You file away that unusual and alarming fact. I'll be spending all month cleaning this up. This lady hasn't done shit, now she's ordering us around. Should I text fuck off, or do you want to?
I'll handle it, thank you, the Theurge says.
Elton keeps his words civil, but he reminds Miss Clear that she was never actually a member of the Broadbrook Cairn her ex-husband was, and that this is not really her business. She argues, quite convincingly, you're forced to admit, covering up activities that legally count as murder is exactly her business as a glass walker. Elton is determined, but Miss Clear is adamant. The Hampshire County Sheriff's Office had descriptions of both of you. I deleted them. I'm not your enemy, Elton, but I need time to hide your activities. 1 month, study what you can, stay in town, stay out of sight. Answering Tiger's agents are looking for you. The Answering Tiger's agents are looking for you.
Oh no, what are agents, you ask?
Agents.
Oh, you say. Fine.
How much can we get done while stuck in town? I still want to do something.
Oh no, fuck it.
Well, I guess I need to make enough money to cover my rent.
You need to establish yourself here, Morgan.
You've rushed around all week. It looks like you're here for a while, so I'm going to introduce you to the survivors of the 3 families. They can get you set up. Then we can both get to work. It's hard not to feel frustrated. On the other hand, you check the local news on your new phone and find quite a bit of talk about a missing Holyoke police officer, and other odd stories in Holyoke too, including someone who broke into a research facility called the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center. That might be the bone Nora Aaron Podge. You scroll the news for a few minutes as Elton argues with Ms. Clear. Rushing off right away might be a mistake. You'll stay put for now, but not for long. Elton promises to keep in touch. It's already late, so you head back to your cabin and sleep for so long you almost miss your next shift at Epicycle. After several boring hours calling vendors and checking serial numbers, you wonder what to do next. You've impressed the spirits since arriving in the valley. You might want to explore the places near Broadbrook you've uncovered and see if you can earn gifts from the spirits there. I check my phone. Email from Scarpa. Where the fuck are you? Do you think you can ignore me, you little shit? Where the fuck are you? Clay's dead and Black Tyler's missing and probably dead and you're gonna ignore me? Tell me where you went. Tell him I'm in Hartford, an hour south of here. I should keep him out of my head. No, it's a terrible idea. I ignore him again. Scarpa's friends don't really seem to merit a response. Ignore him. Maybe he'll calm down or offer you some useful information eventually, but you doubt it. Okay. Elton and I return to Broadbrook. Let's look for gifts, baby. Your work there isn't done, so you text Elton in the morning. He tells you to bring dinner, so you log in a boring day sorting and organizing Epicycle's hex wrenches, a task neglected for over a decade, cajole Adolfo into ordering a whole large pizza that he quickly forgets about, and arrive at the bookstore where Elton works the end of his shift. The air grows electric as you enter. Elton radiates only the dim aura of rage most days, but the two of you together put the browsers on edge. Elton nudges you into the back office where you contemplate how badly you want to kill people or tear things apart. Not that badly, you think, so what's everyone's problem? The bookstore cats seem to like you at least. Their names are Clorinda and Thisbe, and they want to lick a slice of pizza. Perhaps they've acclimatized to Elton because they lack the instinctive fear of Karoo most domesticated animals possess. Or maybe they just really want that mozzarella. The bus stops outside just as the two of you finish eating dinner. You race outside into the cold, late winter air. So water's still corrupted? How are we going to start healing it? It's easier to clean a dirty room than a clean one. Elton says that he hoists his old-fashioned bike onto the bus's bike rack. At least that's what my wife used to say when she made me clean the bathroom. You can start anywhere in the horrible place and make progress. It won't be fun, but it'll be productive. The bus drops you off at the Veterans Hospital. And there you follow Elton as he wheels his bike through the woods and finds an old trail once used by the Broadbrook Garou. It's easy from there, and in less than 15 minutes, you're in the heart of David Benicki's factory, a festering marsh of slushy, half-frozen water full of broken concrete, twisted rebar, and the carcasses of animals he ruined. Scraps of shapeless plastic float in the ooze or hang from the twisted oaks. Elton's breath steams with rage as he looks down upon the defilement. He pulls his frock coat closer around him as if to ward off a chill, though an unnatural warmth still lingers in the air. The sun is a red stain on the western horizon, half hidden by dead black trees. The healing begins today. The Theurge climbs onto a pile of broken concrete that was once David Benicki's workshop and closes his eyes. The air grows thin and cold mist swirls over the filthy water, but Elton is just one Theurge and he can't do this alone. You spent time helping Black Tarn maintain a little garden, and you think about where your skills lie, and how you can help without this land draining your vitality to restore itself. I close my eyes and concentrate on subtle shifts in the air to find knots of corruption. Spiritual energy flows steadily out of Elton as he unweaves the tangles of poisoned spirit stuff in the corrupted land. You move cautiously through the defilement, seeking where the air seems thickest and foulest. Every time you find a knot of grisly spirit filth, you single Elton and then move away quickly before the rot clings to you. Then all at once a pulse of spiritual power from Elton frees the knotted and sickly spirit paths in the defiled swamp. Life energy flows around you, and then out into the wilds in a burst so powerful you can almost see it. Branches sway, snow swirls across the desolate landscape, and then the spirits come rushing in. They wash over the land. Some dance and laugh, others howl with rage or shine with tranquility. Protean spirits are the wild, delicate geometric shapes loyal only to the urban tribes. The shades of ancestors and fallen heroes. Elton shouts their names not like a sorcerer chanting words of binding, but as a man calling out to old friends. The air grows thin and sparkling as you see into the umbra and watch the spirits settle around the periphery of the defiled Broadbrook cairn, far enough away that the worm stuff in its heart will not taint them, but comfortably close to their old abodes. Your shifting vision perceives 3 places where spirits have settled. You see each place simultaneously in shifting fragments of shattered a mirror. The deep, trackless woods where no regular mortal has ever stepped, black trunks, white snow, pure shimmering streams that wind beneath crystalline ice. The barrows of the ancestors, quiet tombs of werewolves and their allies slain at the Battle of Graves Farm or battles centuries ago. Low grassy hills marked with Garou glyphs and rough-hewn stones wreathed in ghostly mist. The liminal zone between the wilds and the people of the map. Your right eye sees wretched urban blight, polluted and accursed, but your left eye sees a frenzied realm of teeming spiritual energy. Red bricks, rusted metal, feral cats stalking the alleys, clever spirits that have learned to adapt and survive in the shadow of humanity. Morgan, Elton says, the sound of rushing water. The last remnants of David Benicki's dam sink into the mire. Cold wind races through the valley. You're freezing, your hands and face numb. Elton's lips are blue, but he's smiling. Did it work? You ask. The sky is still red. Wait, the red is to the east now. It's dawn. The Kayan, the heart of our power, is still hopelessly defiled. Yeah, the Theurge says. But some spirits are coming back. You should visit them once we finish here. With the strangled umbral energies flowing again, the rest of the day is spent in simple trash cleanup, bagging rubbish, sorting through equipment, and texting one of the surviving members of the three families, Lucinda, to rent a truck and cart all the heavy junk away. You keep expecting to feel exhausted, but the liberated energies of the land energize you, and you're hard at work sorting through David Benicki's tools, you plan to sell them, when you uncover a selection of bladed weapons, all matte black steel. Elton holds one up and sniffs it, as if he can smell evil, and then he shrugs. Is it good, Morgan? He says. David may have been a wasteman, but he knew how to forge. I know you're not much of a close combat fighter, but you should have a weapon at hand. These weapons are magnificent. Before he invited an unclean spirit into his flesh, David Benicki understood what dwelt in the heart of a werewolf and how to shape a guru's spiritual temperament into a physical object. And grabbed the machete, a no-nonsense weapon for staying alive and doing what must be done. Sometimes you're threatened by man or beast and you need to hack it to death. It's not pretty or poetic, but that's your life now. I know it's hard to remember here in the depths of a New England winter. Sometimes you need to hack through underbrush. This icy forest will be a jungle 5 months from now, and you need to think practically. This matte black machete, 18 inches long from tip to pommel, is perfect for both purposes. Oh, look, there's even more, Elton says, as you find the blade's black leather sheath and strap it to your back. It's knife crime Christmas. It's knife crime Christmas. He slides several plastic tubs your way. One contains over 100 matte black throwing knives, razor sharp and paper thin. You're never much of an archer, despite Clay's tutelage, but you might be able to use these. Keep them, Elton says. He's claimed a dagger for himself. I wonder how much money we can make from all the stuff here that we don't keep for ourselves. A few hundred, Elton says. For all his refinement and occult knowledge, he barely has more money than you, and the Shadowlord possesses a bone gnawer's instinct. He's returning trash into treasure. You can't sell the weapons, we're too nice, frankly. But some of this industrial equipment is still in good condition, Lucinda can turn this scrap metal around for a profit. While talking, Elton has been scribbling in a previously blank leather-bound notebook he's found. What's your auspice? He asks. Galliard? You say. I thought you already knew. But he ignores you and calculates for a second, then writes the Book of December in the notebook in Sharpie. You have a dozen questions, but you're so exhausted you can barely think. Let's get back home, Elton says. You follow him as he rides back towards the Veterans Hospital. He asks you for more details about how you came here. I need to be at work at 11. I need to start making a record of everything you and I have seen and done. I'm going to scout the woods tomorrow night and see what else I can learn. You should explore these lands, familiarize yourself with the place as it heals. The bus takes you back home, where you shower, then make and eat a bowl of rice and beans to regain your strength. Let's do some extra shifts. If Elton and Ms. Clear both want me to wait, I might as well pull in some extra shifts at work. You are dead broke, and your cabin is unfurnished except for absolute necessities, and you barely know anyone except a Shadow Lord occultist. With time to spare and a burning desire to own more socks, you log in long hours at Epicycle, cleaning and maintaining the equipment, organizing the chaotic inventory system, and running to and from the nearby copy shop to print off flyers and brochures. Adolfo's hours are irregular at best, and people are thrilled that you show up every day at the same time, even if your quietly simmering rage sets them on edge. But Adolfo is a serious problem. He gets your hours wrong. gives you incorrect pickup information, and constantly complains about your mistakes to everyone who comes in. The weed makes him paranoid, but you're not sure what makes him undermine you every chance he gets. Still, the customers are friendly, and it feels good to sell off old inventory and tidy up the cramped back room. It's on the third week when you still haven't been paid and your rent is coming up. You have to sit Adolfo down and have a talk with him. Where's my money? There, that's the talk. Oh, Adolfo says. Shows you how to log into the previously hidden area, or of Areopagite, to print out your checks. A quick mental computation determines that it's less than what you agreed upon. Well, you had to buy all your equipment, man, Adolfo says. Wrenches and such. So that stuff is mine, you ask. Well, you can't take it from the shop, obviously, Adolfo says, like you're an idiot. Pay me what I'm owed, damn it. Now. Hey, man. Hey, man, look, it's really hard to do this stuff, and I don't appreciate your frankly shitty attitude. It's not like I have a HR team. I'm a small business owner. You need to pay. Look, man, Adolfo says. You don't like it, go somewhere else. This conversation is bad for the house plans, man, so it's all over. He turns away from you. Choking back your irritation, you stalk away, and when you get your check at the end of your shift, it's even lower than it should be. Next day, there's a package waiting for you at Epicycle. Adolfo only remembers to tell you at the end of your shift. You open it to find a Massachusetts state ID that reads Morgan December, a birth certificate, and a social security card. GRC Media business card has I hate working with paper scrawled on the back. This is good. An idea will get me into more places, help my investigations. Yeah, I'd love to steal this shit. Probably should have chosen that, jeez. To your considerable irritation, the birth date on the ID is the same year as your real birthday, which means you can't get into most bars. And it's a state ID, not a driver's license. You can't drive anyway. But this will let you move around in both the real worlds and online. You just need some credit. Now that you have some money and an ID, you walk down to the bank in the middle of town and set up an account for yourself. They give you a little blue debit card and call you ma'am and everything. It's like staying at the Ritz for the 10 minutes it takes you to fill out paperwork. Then, armed with your new debit card, you consider what to buy once you have some money. You thought about 3 things that would make your life easier. First, a bike would save you an enormous amount of time and effort getting around town, especially during the day when turning into a wolf risks exposure. A bike would give you the time and extra energy you need to focus on physical training and development. Second, you could really use a laptop. Any kind of research or writing on your iPhone is a huge pain. You can score a used MacBook for a couple $100, and that will let you focus on intellectual pursuits. Third, you think from your bedroom, which contains your bed. Third, you think from your bedroom, which contains a bed with 1 blanket and 1 pillow. You could furnish your cabin. College kids are always throwing stuff out, and in between consignment shops and dumpster diving, you could probably furnish this place with a week of digging around and not too much money. Curtains and plates won't help you in your spiritual duties, but they'll help you feel more social and civilized. And of course, there's the heat. No one has fixed it, and you suspect no one is going to. Yeah, let's buy the Scottish laptop. I buy a laptop so I can open up more than 1 Wikipedia page at a time. I acquire house finishing so no longer living like a goblin. Oh god. Okay. Short investigation turns up someone offering a new MacBook for less than $300. It might be stolen, but one good part about being a werewolf is that you don't fear most criminals, so you email the seller and agree to meet at the McDonald's on King Street. You plug it in and it boots right up. You connect to the free Wi-Fi and it doesn't have any problems, so you hand the seller a roll of 20s and spend the next hour with a McFlurry setting the laptop up the way you like. Elton has a surprise waiting for you when they swing downtown one afternoon. A toolkit with a mini crowbar, a flashlight and some screwdrivers, a folding knife, plastic baggies to store extra clothes for shape-shifting, and wet naps. Life as a werewolf requires a lot of wet naps. Everything is courtesy of David Benicki's shack near the dam you took apart. As a Galliard, your once considerable rage is waning. Oh, jeez. Heat. I paid to have someone fix my heat before I freeze. Rage 3, jeez. I think our rage is waning because it's the wrong time of the moon cycle. Let's pay to have someone fix the heat. A few Yelp searches turn up a handy woman with good reviews who doesn't charge too much, so you take a few pictures of your pathetic heating system and send the woman an email. Apparently your sorry situation counts as an emergency, and her van arrives the next day. Parts and labor come to all over $500, but she says you can pay her back in installments. When the walls rattle and warm air blows out of the rusted vents, you can't complain. Okay. Check phone. Bank statements. You're doing okay. You've kept your account over 700 for the past few days, and you have some 5s and 10s in your wallet. Email for Elton Day. Cairn is inaccessible. Stormcat and I spent 2 days scouting land around the heart of the Broad Brook and were unable to reach the Cairn itself. I confess a certain degree of confusion since the land was not supernaturally veiled before, and even if it had been, the Cairn Spirit Protector should be able to reach it, even if I cannot. A labyrinth of perspective has arisen since the Battle of Graves Farm, preventing anyone from reaching a former place of power. Perhaps this effect only applies to Wyrm Spirits who once dwelt at Broadbrook. I encourage you to scout the area. I also encourage you to avoid any conflict whatsoever with creatures you might find there. Attachment contains several maps that purport to lead directly to the Cairn. The easiest thing to do, it appears, is to retrace your steps from the barrow and head deeper into the forest. Let's find Melody. You get a quick response from the Theurge. She's a Silver Fang from one of the old families. Her sister Harmony was a human alchemist, also practiced one of the old pack. I don't know how she was immune to the delirium, but she was. She was good friends with my late wife, Catherine. The existence of Melody and Harmony drove the three families half mad as the patriarchs and matriarchs fought to control them. But we can't do anything until Ms. Clear gives us the go-ahead. I know it's frustrating, but we need a data specialist to hide our movements. Our cult tricks didn't work after all. Is there any news of Black Tarn since she disappeared into the Umbra? I never met Black Tarn in the days of her power, only as she declined to grief and madness. Even during Clay's heroic attack on the pipeline shortly before your first change, her old fury has started to experience fugues and unusual dreams. But once, a rumor of Black Tarn's coming set both worm spawn and conventionally vicious humans fleeing like a wave of rats. Her mystic theurgy was legendary and her wrath terrible. Or so the stories went. Elton, who was also a theurge, might know something, so head to his flat with an offering, a 2-litre jar of protein powder that you took from work. Seems weird that Adolfo had that, but fair enough. Over a meal of jerk chicken with dates and tea, Elton listens to your story of Black Tarn with growing concern. The Umbra is both useful and necessary to a werewolf, but, he says, but is not where we belong. It is an intrinsically hostile place. Some old guru myths say that it was not always the case, but any werewolf who spends too long in the Umbra will eventually fade into it. I fear that's what's happened to Black Tarn. Can we do anything, you ask? Black Tarn is a Black Fury, right? Elton asks. You nod. And I see two possibilities. First, there's a statue of Gorgon in the woods that we could petition. Second, there's this Gorgon mask on Rosemary Street in the worst parts of town. The former would require us to restore the forest around Broad Brook. The latter needs, I suppose, a Bone Nora or Silent Strider. Someone who could tame the slum spirits. So we need more allies first, you say. Exactly, Elton says. But we could help Black Tarn if she's not already dead. Elton spends the rest of dinner telling you stories about Gorgon. She's a ferocious spirit, proud and cruel, but she's also a great protector of humanity. And her wisdom is the Earth's wisdom. If anyone knows Black Tarn's fate, it's Gorgon. You should find more werewolves. They might be able to clean up the Umbra around Gorgon's sacred spaces and let you contact her. I feel like we're going to have to follow the maps, but let's go. Where can I find Podge? Let's text Elton and see where you can make plans. To sending a text to the Theo, you search online for a few minutes without much luck. Finally, Elton responds. I've emailed him, but he hasn't responded. As far as I know, he's still in Holyoke, south of here. We can conduct some preliminary research right now, but remember, no travel until Ms. Clear finishes covering up that guy you killed in New York. Need details, tribe, auspices, more data always helps. A few minutes later, you get an email labeled Fact Sheet. Hodge, born Patrick Owen Hodge in Quincy, Massachusetts, to Palmer and Elizabeth Hodge, both Boston area lawyers. First change at 15, very young. Fled parents. I met him a year later and introduced him to a cane, but they didn't want a bone Nora or an untested full moon. Rare combination, a bone Nora Aruin. They wouldn't let him fight at the Battle of Graves Farm, which is how he survived. After the battle, he went south to Holyoke. I tracked him down an address that might be his, and I think he's been busy lately. Might have something to do with how we, the Broadbrook Cairns, set down the old coal plant in Holyoke. Let me forward some articles. You read the articles that Elton sends you. Mass Live, 2014. Mount Tom Station, closes for good. The last coal-fired power station in western Massachusetts. Mount Tom in Holyoke begins decommissioning. Smart City is a new lease on life for Holyoke. MA is former coal-fired plant, long blamed for residents' health problems, and by 2009, the plant had lost profitability due to economic trends, which led to its closure in 2014. Last year marked the start of a new chapter for the power plant, which has been transformed into a solar farm. GRC Media 2 years ago, universities applaud start of Big Calc. Applaud start of Big Calc, the so-called Big Calc, a joint project of 5 Massachusetts universities, Everlight Gas and Electric, and the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center is expected to revolutionize fluid dynamics when its calculations finish, leading to revolutionary efficiency in hydroelectric plant design. The Daily Hampshire Gazette last year, activists protest Everlight's planned Holyoke pipeline. Activists called the project unwanted and unnecessary. The project is currently suspended, but in a statement, Everlight Special Operations Director Mike Sullivan said, enhanced reliability of aging pipelines is necessary due to cahoots earlier this year. Beast of Everlight spotted at hardware show. As Gevudan had its beast, so too does Holyoke, deep in the bowels of Everlight Gas and Electric, spotted just last week, according to witnesses, banging its monstrous head or heads at a hardcore show. Rumors circle that the Beast of Everlight was driven mad witnessing a woodland massacre, perhaps a battle of Bloody Brook that ended King Philip's war. Is it the Beast of Everlight King Philip himself? Is the Beast of Everlight King Philip himself back from the dead and forced to serve the board of directors? Or WWLP.com this year. Protest at Holyoke, home of Everlight director, results in 5 arrests. Cited for trespassing at home of Mike Sullivan, Everlight's director of the Big Calc program. Also cited for disturbing the peace with Parker Lodge of no fixed address. Parker Lodge? Patrick Hodge, it could be. But what about Mike Sullivan? It's such a common name that you can't get much useful information. No address. But a visit to Everlight Gas and Electric's website turns up no one named Mike Sullivan. The name shows up in reference to the Big Calc, but you can't get any details, not even a picture. Nothing about the Beast of Everlight either, but new people on Nextdoor claim, without evidence, that the Everlight Gas and Electric is holding an alien in the bowels, both people use the term, of their facility. So that seems unlikely you know about the Holyoke's pipeline because Clay's pack disrupted the original plan to run a pipeline from the Dakotas all the way to Boston through your home in northern New York. It sounds like a smaller version of the project is still underway. Those responsible for the pipeline invasion operated using dozens of shell companies, none of which lasted for more than a few years, except Everlight. They've been around for decades, and they're not a shell company. A broad-ranging energy consortium, they supply oil, gas, and other power sources to large swaths of New England. You remember hearing about some of the shady dealings, but it was outside of your old territory, so you don't know much. Maybe Scarpa could tell you something. Where can I find Nin? She's supposed to be a traveling musician, and according to local metalheads, the person to talk to about bands is named Roscoe. The same Roscoe Elton knows. You should look him up. Of course, you still need to wait for that glasswalker to give you the go-ahead to act. She did make a good point that you and Elton have been leaving bodies in the snow behind you, but it's still frustrating. Elton promised to introduce me to the surviving members of the 3 families. I text him about that. You send the text and head to Epicycle and spend the morning rechecking the tire inventory. Elton sends you an email after lunch with the address of Rosgrove Farm. The local band promoter, Hoblin Nash, whom you set up in Hadley investigating Jasper Heaney and Lucinda Pallas Nash, an artist and metalworker. Cool, now we can do that, but we still can't meet them, so let's go to Decayan. You want to go at night to avoid being followed. The forecast on the next full moon says at a low of 35, no rain or wind. That'll work. A long and frantic day at Epicycle watching YouTube videos about bikes to hone your expertise, and then a hasty dinner of wheat thins and root beer before you head out. An old man stares at you from the moment you get on the bus, but he gets off one stop before you and Elton is waiting, frock coat turned up against the wind, when you reach a veterans hospital turnaround at 6 p.m. sharp. You saw him in his dreadful Krenos form, an engine of destruction wreathed in the darkness of his own patron spirit, but now he seems tired. He barely manages a British greeting syllable, honked vaguely in your direction. You okay? I'll worry about this guy. Yeah, just tired. I feel like I can feel the tooth marks in my bones. Worry about yourself. Well, let's go, you say, but Elton doesn't move. Come back before dawn. I'll be waiting here. To your unasked question, Elton says, "Neither Stormcat nor I can reach the can. It's Maze, if you'll forgive me, coining in return." Obland, who fought at the Battle of Graves Farm and is an ordinary human, scattered the next day and found himself equally perplexed. But whatever happened to us might not affect an outsider. Yeah, British greeting syllable honked vaguely in your direction. That's a fantastic phrase. Very cool indeed. After this, you want to grab a coffee and talk? I think I sort of like Elton, even though he's a bit dour. Dour and paralysed by indecision and probably half mad after everything that's happened, though he hides it well, but also charming in his own way. If you find anything useful in there, Elton says, I'm buying dinner or breakfast. It's a deal, you say, and head off. Don't get killed. I'll wait inside. It's like Elton still can't quite shake the rust out of his joints, but you can't just stand around in the freezing rain trying to remind an English werewolf how to flirt. The woods are cold, and it's already getting dark. Your breath steams, but you're wearing basically all your clothes, which means you're warm. You have physical printouts of Elton's maps, and you downloaded copies to your phone, so this shouldn't be too difficult, especially since it's just a preliminary scouting expedition. And of course, you've thought about what you want. I want to find something that shakes Elton out of his funk and banishes his despair. No, I need to learn more about what happened to Broadbrook at the Battle of Graves Farm and before. Much younger you, and one from a few weeks ago, wanted to fight and perhaps die gloriously, but Broadbrook's fate keeps itching at your mind. If you want to fight whatever defeated the Guru here, it's obvious that you need to learn more first. As the light fades, you keep your eyes open for wreckage or signs of fighting. Something like that glove you found would be perfect. Half hours traveling through deep, trackless woods, following the map toward Graves Farm, where the Broadbrook Guru made their final stand. These woods are old, untouched except by Guru and spirits. You don't even think the 3 families went this deep, and then... what the hell? We're on the far side of the woods, starting at the main north-south highway that runs through the valley, I-91. Trucks rumble down the midnight road. What happened? Were you so focused on your plans that you forgot to scout? You try again, scanning for evidence of worm activity, moving carefully because it's now dark despite the full moon. You step into... No, this isn't right. You're out behind Walmart. A rundown stretch of urban blight. And according to your phone, it's 5 in the morning? Your feet are freezing, despite your boots and double socks. This must be very confusing for you, Morgan. I observe as I hop gracefully onto a rusted dumpster and regard you with my lambent blue eyes, tail puffy with static electricity. Good God, that sounds miserable. Poor Luxie. Good morning, Stormcat. Always pays to be polite to the gods. I like it when Guru are polite even when they're obviously frustrated. It reminds me of what I once was. was. The spirit of Broadbrook Cairn, one of them at least, but I've been turned inside out and diminished, and whatever is there now doesn't want anyone else getting in. Not spirits, except its own, I assume. Not Kabru, not even regular people. You can't reach the Cairn, Morgan, but you can start chipping away at whatever it is in there. Seek out other Guru and have them restore the lands around Broadbrook. Until then, I'm in exile, and the poison in the Cairn will slowly spread until it consumes the entire valley. Before you can ask another question, I slip back into the Umbra, leaving you to answer Elton's increasingly frantic texts while a stray cat runs for shelter. After a long delay caused by the bad connection, he responds to you. So that's their answer then. No one can reach the Cairn. Well, the Stormcat is right. We can start restoring the nearby lands. Feel like it's our only chance. And I am on the other side of town, despite having offered you breakfast in exchange for excellent work. All I can offer you is bone gnaw wisdom from my old friend Patrick. If anyone near you can fairly be described as Noodle Lady, ask her for something for the black dog. Noodle Lady? You look around this wretched slum as it wakes up. A garage door rolls open and you smell hot oil. You're able to follow your nose past a line of Chinese men, all ages, but all men, to an elderly woman. She stares at you with irritation and talks to you in Chinese. You try Elton's secret code phrase and her lined face breaks into a smile. Thought you all died, the Noodle Lady says. She sets you up on a little plastic table with a piping hot bowl of seafood soup. The words crab soup for breakfast sound unappealing, but the soup is light, hot, and covered in fresh green herbs. The men chat as they receive their breakfast, mostly in English, as they speak mutually unintelligible dialects. You eat slowly while texting back and forth with Elton. You're on Rosemary Street, or what's left of it. There used to be a bookstore, a record shop, an antique store. Tells you stories about this place when the bone gnawers guarded it. You eat and read. Probably all gone now, but maybe we can find Patrick or another bone gnawer. I need to go to work. Thanks for letting me babble about the old days. You take your time eating the soup. And then one of the men gets your attention and says, "Only way." You follow his pointing finger to a bus. Probably the day's only bus. You hop to your feet, thank the Noodle Lady, and get home before around sunrise, then squeeze in a few hours of sleep before you have to go to work. Oh. Reading for 2.5 hours straight makes you a little tired, gotta tell you. I think I'd like to... Let's go meet Lucinda. Lucinda has a studio in the Florence Arts and Industry building, which is far enough away that it is easier to take the bus than walk. The big whitewashed building is easy to navigate, and you find Lucinda between a botanica and a dance studio. A horrific humanoid puppet hangs above the entrance. Looks like you're burning to death in an old building with a tin roof, and the tin is melting onto your eyes and igniting your hair. You don't like the puppet. Don't mind him, Lucinda says, bustling around a huge conic armature of twisted steel. He's harmless. Lucinda Pallas Nash is a white woman in late middle age, short and round, but with a core of muscle like a blacksmith. She wears her frizzy hair tied back in a bun and dresses in a stained smock and old combat boots. Lucinda has the friendly smile of a high school art teacher, but her eyes are sharp and just a little bit zealous. The same eyes as the pictures of Frida Kahlo and other surrealists pasted onto the walls. Hundreds of books line the shelves among the sculptures, tools, and oddities. Her metal desk has an old laptop surrounded by photos of the Broadbrook Cairn, including a slightly younger Lucinda with a teenage Hobland, a survivalist you met in the Hadley Sugar Shack. The survivalist we met in the Hadley Sugar Shack? No. We met Hobland in the library. Yeah, creepy guy in the archive. Exactly, Gollum. Also, hey, Gollum. Photos of Harmony and Melody helping her around the studio. I bet you're here to learn, Lucinda says. Oh, fucking awesome. Look at that. She's the best. Hell yeah! Sure, but first, why don't you tell me about your work? A gesture to the armature. This is for a haunted house, Lucinda says, pointing at the cone-shaped armature. I have the scythe around here somewhere. Scritty Lagotti puppet just needs a tune-up. He'll be back with the band in a few days. I work in just about every medium there is, from glass to 3D modeling, and of course I promote my own work, which is never easy. A sugar shack is a deliberately kept cold location in areas of like New England and older and more northern parts of the Americas, where you literally pour maple syrup onto ice to create. No, that's something else. But I figure that's another place you can meet him if you're like lying in wait for whatever creature is at the farm. We found a bug/inconsistency I agree with. Grats, chat. You find yourself standing before the huge poster of Frida Kahlo. She's always an inspiration, Lucinda says. Her, Leonora Carrington, Remedios Varo, unconventional women who thrived after a horrible war. Well, thrived as much as they were allowed to. As I said, it's never easy. Truth is, I make most of my money from teaching nowadays. Of course, I can't charge one of the go route. Elton says you're another broke drifter like we used to get when the can was strong, so I shouldn't try shaking you down. Fucking hell yeah! I wasn't entirely correct, but I got the Maple Syrup Association. She spends an hour giving you a full tour of her workshop. Lucinda is a natural teacher, full of energy and enthusiasm for the things she loves, but also a hard-edged and practical. Art is a practical business, she explains. No tube of oil paint ever gave a damn about an artist's vision. No creditor either. Your phone chimes and you check it. Your boss wants you in early tomorrow. There's also an email from Elton waiting for you. He wants you to start patrolling Northampton in Looper's form. There it is, Lucinda says. There's the problem. They say we all get the same thing, the same 24 hours in a day, but that's not true. We gotta work, we gotta drive our kids around. I'm a selfish old bitch, and I'm greedy with my time, and I still gotta bail out Roscoe's crew. Make sure my friends are eating, teach young werewolves. Everyone's gonna try and take a chunk of your 24 hours. We all need time to grow. And in this world of ours, we all need money to get by. I'm not gonna be a moral compass, kid, but it's gonna be hard. You'll need to grab what you can, and then you'll need to know when to pass it around so the people you rely on have room to breathe. You're going to fight for slices of that 24, Morgan, and you have enemies I can't know about. Buying us peace gives you time to learn. Buying me some clean canvases or hobbling some gear he can't acquire without showing his face also helps, but it's never easy. Everything is fight, isn't it? Time is money. The more you have, the more you can spend to support your human teachers, and the more you can learn from them. Whoa. Skill training, baby. You can take stats? Raise my dexterity to 2 so I won't get killed? I also thought we had higher computers, so... I think we need higher computer and mechanics to make Adolphus like us. My higher mechanics to make Adolphus like us, but I don't like Adolphus, so... Surprises you how much Lucinda knows about computers, but she's always used them in her work. Yardos introduces you to the early 90s demo scene and how they did what they did, and from there, aware of why you need to hone these skills, expands her lessons to cover all the old parts of computer networks someone should have secured years ago, except no one did. Sorry, Luxie. You're no computer expert, and those illicit skills you've read about are mostly for modern tech, spoofed Wi-Fi, that sort of thing. Lucinda offers backdoors that have, in some cases, been around since mainframe times, and that you can still use. Only once you understand the old school tricks does she expand into the latest operations. Your reward for passing a final test, which involves a desktop PC from 1991, a modern laptop, an Android phone, and a Wi-Fi enabled printer, is a nylon bag full of techno goodies. Now you have extra SIM cards, a Bear-Fang walkie-talkie, a garage door opener, a shiny new GPU for your laptop for rapid password cracking, a LAN tap, a key grabber, a wireless adapter, and a USB loaded with the worst digital poison Lucinda knows how to find. You already have plans to adapt that USB. As you clean up, you see Lucinda reading Metamorphosis and Rule by Harmony Palace. The great shock of mechanical computation as such during the 1940s, a shock hinted at by von Neumann and Turing, never fully articulated except in a suppressed manuscript, was that ideas previously considered only that, such as subtraction or 10, suddenly gained physical reality in space and matter as a result of constructing analytical engines. It was suddenly imperative to decide in what way numbers were real because they had abruptly become real in a new way and had begun to infiltrate and propagate within the chaos of matter in motion we ordinarily call reality. Certain delineations of definition had to be established with great haste, lest math, whatever it is, whatever it wants, overwrite our physical reality, spreading from the first computers to devour everything. Your head buzzes. You shouldn't read this, Lucinda says. That's sick. That's so good. Certain delineations of definition had to be established with great haste, lest math, whatever it is, whatever it wants, overwrite our physical reality, spreading from the first computers to devour everything. Gollum, you must love that, right, man? That's Thomas Ligotti, isn't it? Not an exact quote, but that's the themes. Oh, lovely. Where do you think I should focus? It's all right. Well, I tried. Wherever you want to be happy and fulfill your dreams, Lucinda says. Wish I could say that, but we all gotta survive, right, kid? Werewolves of Broadbrook were city wolves, if you can call this little town a city, but most of them didn't work jobs. Linus worked at a radio station. He was sort of like you. Is there anything that you can teach me that'll help at Evercycle, you ask? I don't know much about bikes, Lucinda says. That sort of job needs brains. I can teach you to think. At least I can try. Mental attributes like intelligence will help you at Epicycle. Shall we get smarter or shall we get more mechanical? Let's get mechanical first, right? Lucinda does a lot of work on metal, and she practically has a whole foundry in her studio. She's happy to teach you the boring stuff in exchange for you actually doing the boring stuff once a week or so. You don't know much about mechanics, but she teaches you all sorts of fascinating tricks about motors, batteries, cams, and crankshafts. 5 days left. Let's max our academics. 3 dots, baby. Any idiot can read a book, and many have, but Lucinda offers you something better, a coherent program of study. Over the next few weeks, you read dozens of books on art history, art theory, and cultural criticism. You become familiar with the complete A to Z, Adorno to Zizek, and then endure Lucinda's challenges, analysis, and critiques of your understanding. You don't know if you're any smarter or better educated, but your head feels slightly heavier. That's probably good. And persuasion, right? Why not? Actually, we've got stamina. Let's... No, persuasion. No. Two days. Let's try and get athletics and then mechanics. Lucinda leads you past a dance studio to another large room, this one covered in bright green astroturf with obstacles scattered around. Mini golf? No. No. Oh no. Change, Lucinda says, turning lights on and illuminating the dog agility course. But it works. You're used to relying on the native speed and power of your lupus form, but a focus course helps you think about how you move and what your body can do. The obstacle course is especially challenging because you're bigger than a border collie. Your considerable size forces you to concentrate on how you occupy space and how to control where each part of your body is during every step. As you start to understand what your body can do, you realize how to translate these lessons across all 5 forms. And let's go mechanics. Spend more time working in Lucinda's armatures to improve your mechanics. Oh, that's all? Oh, done. What a beautiful stat increase. Hell yeah, let's go. And it is... Checking out a massive scratch on my stomach. It is time to finish for the day. Lovely. Oh, there you go. Ah, see, I told you the chatting window is screwed. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on this next episode of the Book of Hungry Names. It has been a lot of fun. I have certainly enjoyed it. I am enjoying this novel, and maybe a little odd in some locations, but boy, is it fun. No worries, Golem King. Thanks for tuning in and enjoying it. There will be more, but only on Wednesday next week, because this Sunday I am unavailable. I am going to have an excellent time, and I will not be thinking about you at all. My apologies. But okay, everybody, I hope you will have a very excellent evening. I'll see you next Wednesday night, probably for Kingdom Hearts, and I hope you have a very, very lovely week and a very lovely long weekend for those in Canberra. Maybe further afield as well, not totally sure. Otherwise, please remember to tell the people you love that you love them very much. Good night, everyone.